Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome one, welcome all to SimSpeed TV. It's time once again for V8SCOPS supports. We've got a massive weekend here at Motorsport Arena Oschersleben in virtual Germany coming up for you. Tonight we have 2-litre Tourers and flat sixes, and then tomorrow an endurance round for the V8's support series. It's going to be so much fun. Been looking forward to seeing this track in action for quite some time, and we are honoured to bring it to you here live on YouTube, Facebook and Kick. My name is Reese Gardner. Dan Yeaman's alongside me in the comms box and also handling production behind the scenes too. Dan, you were present in an admin role earlier in the week when we raced the AOG V8 Super Series at Oschersleben. Turns out this track is quite good for racing. It's difficult to pass around here, which means the drivers really have to work for their moves.
They sure did on Monday night, Les. I mean, at the same time, I guess, being in the RC box, you don't quite get the feel for how things are going on a holistic sense, but looking forward to hopefully keeping what seemed like a pretty good night, all things being said, here with tonight's racing indeed, as we turn our attention to this opening night of supports racing action and descend into the heart of, central and virtual Germany here with Oschersleben circuit.
Indeed, it's a twisty layout, this one, highly technical as well. Lot of corners built here to an exacting geometric standard. There's two corners, turn 2 and turn 7, that are pretty much perfect circles apart from their entry and exit. So the drivers definitely need to have a car that's neutral, a car that has some good mid-corner rotation, and they'll be able to carry some speed around here. But I think the biggest points of contention here, Dan, are going to be from turns 4 through 6, the triple left-hander. It's very difficult to keep the car under control through there. And turn 9 in the middle of the McDonald's chicane. We saw on Monday night that there were quite a few drivers pinging the track limits there, which could be something we have to look out for this weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Like, I even saw just before I hit the live button, Henry King getting the safety car warmed up, actually lost it through the entry to turn 4 at that triple complex. And then, as you say, it's very easy to get too greedy through the chicane there at McDonald's because it's nice flat curbing, and while there are little bollards that are there to try and tell you how far not to push, certainly when you're a race car driver offered up a pretty flat bit of surface, even if it's outside the white lines, it can be for the taking when you're trying to put a fast one on the board.
Yeah, we should also point out that we're actually using the main Grand Prix layout of Oschersleben on iRacing, which is in fact the motorcycle Grand Prix layout in real life. You see that little bit of red there at turn 1? That is the real life car first corner that was introduced in 2007, ostensibly to improve overtaking into turn 1, but it turned out that wasn't very good for racing, particularly on the first couple of laps. It was a big crash zone. So at Cisco Scaramuzza's behest, iRacing made this layout that we're looking at now, the main one of Oschersleben. Now, we also have to consider pits as well, potentially, especially tomorrow night in the V8's endurance race. That pit entry could be difficult for some drivers too.
That's true, and, well, speaking of pit entry, we might as well actually start looking at what's coming our way here tonight, because it will also play a part coming up with our very first races of the evening. It's the 2-race compulsory stop double format for our 2-litre tours this evening here at Oschersleben to kick things off for the weekend race, which means that we will be seeing these cars that are currently out on track, which will throw up on screen in just a moment's time, also to take that pit lane. And actually, I guess in there will give us that early insight as to how the drivers are able to tackle that, because yeah, long pit entry and it goes around the outside of the final corner. You're going to want to put maximize the entry as best you can, but therefore that means could be at risk of overshooting it and putting yourself in a lot worse place than you normally would be if you're able to just take it a little bit easy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that is what the 2-litre tourers have in store for themselves tonight. 2 25-minute races, and of course minimum 2 tyres, and the pit window should open towards the end of lap 2 with those 2 races. When it finishes, I think that will depend, because of course we're running a timed format for this night's racing and progressive grid as well. So where you finish in race 1 is where you start in race 2. Let's then take a look at how things are going in that qualifying session, because it's nearly coming to an end. We have 3.5 minutes remaining in the session. Currently, no surprise to see that Damon Mulqueen is on top in the Synergy Sim Racing Hyundai Elantra. He has been the class of the field this season.
Yeah, he's been a busy man racing this Hyundai Elantra, not just here in the SCOPS Support Series, I might add, but also tackling the World Touring Car Series as well, which I think might help in part with Damon's sort of confidence and comfort in the car, as it were. But yeah, at the moment, over half a second, over 6/10 clear of our next best driver, which is certainly no mean feat here as the times keep coming in, although hard cut to this 10-minute qualifying session will of course mean that drivers here such as Tyson Hammer got probably one more lap, a chance to do one more lap here to try and close that margin down to Damon here, at least when it comes to 1 lap pace.
Indeed. Well, about 1.5 minutes is the length of a lap around here, which I believe means we should expect about 17 to 19 laps, roughly in that window, for race length, depending, of course, on safety cars. Let's see then how the likes of James Foster goes here. He's trailing behind Brady Baldwin in the other Synergy Elantra, and Foster at the moment in 3rd spot. He is only a few hundredths of a second behind Tyson Hammer in car 18. Will this lap be an improvement for him? Coming through the last few corners of the lap, Mulqueen meanwhile going ever faster, down to a 33.2. It looks like there's going to be no beating him. Trying to widen the entry to the final corner as much as you can and get the best exit possible onto the start-finish straight.
And of course, widening that exit, you have to be careful not to overdo it in a car like this, because front-wheel drive, you can easily run out of grip, as Foster will jump up into 2nd place, moving himself 6.5. You see, look how much of the curb he's using there. First, that little flick that counts here is turn 1. That's all over the anti-cuts. Hopefully that wasn't invalidating the lap for him, and it looks to be all good. So that gives you an idea of how aggressive they can afford to be. And then here, diving into turn 3, Reese. Not really looking to go for a late apex like Brady Baldwin ahead has chosen. Instead, really just angle in aggressively, get the car rotating early through a bit of brake action, but also definitely a fair bit of steering usage there.
Yeah, these front-wheel drive touring cars require a very specific driving style and setup philosophy as well. You need to make sure that the rear end is free to rotate into a lot of these corners. Understeer is always the enemy in any case, but with these cars putting their power down through the front wheels, and about 350 horsepower's worth of that to be precise, you don't want to get on the throttle too early. You want to get the majority of your rotation done on the way into a corner, so you can straighten out the exit as much as you can and look after those front tyres. It seems that Foster's doing an all right job of that at the moment.
So he'll be basically right on the money when it comes to getting this lap done in time, Reese, for the end of the session. But he's not going to get to the finish line, I reckon. 1-0 is going to strike here and just kick him, indeed, right before he got there, unfortunately. that's not going to work out for him there tonight. But what it means is we can now start heading to that grid.
Yeah, it's Mulqueen and Foster on the front row, 6/10 between them. Tyson Hanma only 10th of a second, maybe a little less behind Foster, with Simon Gorowski joining him on the second row. Brady Baldwin starts in 5th alongside Mark Cochran, and then it's Isaac Edwards in car 15, the last driver to set a qualifying time here. Mark Lee will also be taking to the grid in 8th spot, but he was not able to get a lap on the board in qualifying. He set a 1 minute 36.39 in practice, so might be a little off the pace here to start with, but as the night goes on, we'll see how much Mark is able to move forward and get on the pace, joining his teammate there at the back of the grid. Well, now we wait for the drivers to get their standing start on, and this there's also a very specific starting philosophy that you need to get on in these cars. You can use the handbrake in sim to basically use it as a bit of launch control, and then set your RPM and make sure that you get the best start you can. No wheel spin, but also don't bog down. It's going to be difficult to strike that balance for a few drivers, but Damon Mulqueen seems to have gotten it down to a science. He's always had some pretty good starts in this series over the course of 2023. Only a few seconds left, presumably, before we get things going here. And, you know, only 8 cars on the grid, plus our safety car and race control cars in the pits, but I think this should be a good race. Oschersleben famously hosting the World Touring Car Championship in the mid to late 2000s, so there's plenty of history for these cars at this circuit. Time hits 0 and the revs rise. They stay stable as the drivers get their launch control started, and we are green. Unfortunately, it looks like a problem for Baldwin already. He is bogged right down on the start. In fact, probably missed it. We'll have to wait and see how that goes for him, as it looks like there's trouble for Isaac Edwards as well.
Yep, he clipped Brady's, the number 7 machine didn't get going, and you can see already that's broken the left front corner. For Isaac Edwards, that car is going to be a right struggle to get back to the pit lane. It seems he will be able to keep going by the looks of things, which is good to see, but no faster pair race. That will be his race 1. Pretty much all done and dusted here. His front runner's looking nice and steady, but back here, Cochran looking to try and work his way past Simon Gorowski here for 4th on this opening lap. 2 of our more hatchback style cars in the Honda Civic Type R and Hyundai Veloster N work their way there out of the triple for the first time here. Nice and tidy in the front half of our field.
Yeah, nice clean start from everyone, apart of course from Baldwin and Edwards. Also noticed that Tyson Hanma has gotten into 2nd place, ending up passing James Foster coming into the opening turns, and they'll be on for quite the fight going forward, I should believe. They were very close on pace in qualifying, so one mistake from either of them could change the face of that battle. Speaking of mistakes, it was a little bit narrow on entry there for Simon Gorowski, but Cochran was not able to take advantage. He had to slow up on the apex. Has created a bit more space between those two.
It has indeed. We'll see now how things go in the next couple of laps as they have to build tyre temperature. Once again, these cars start very cold on their tyres, which means that it is very much a case of steady as she goes for the opening couple of laps. Work their way back into turn, you can see they're having to just ease it in this case, but gaps looking fairly steady. Will be at this stage looks to be the case of the race for 2nd as Foster there. That tight entry seems to be one of the few drivers who's doing it in this race so far. Reese, other drivers really opting to apex late, but then they've got to hold it up on the outside of entering turn 3 there. Was Foster making up some time on the way in and not really losing time through the mid corner or corner exit like you might potentially suspect.
Yeah, it seems like the rotation of that car is sorted out nicely for Foster. He isn't dealing with too much in the way of snapping. He can just guide the car towards the inside of every corner, whereas other drivers might be getting a lot of rotation on entry, and so they need to get a late apex to get the best run through a corner. It seems that Foster is still gaining on Hanmer here, not able to make the pass down the back straight here. Hanmer getting a little bit slidey in the rear in the entry to that complex, and now we'll see just how much Foster's able to take advantage. Hanmer very aggressive over the curb. We haven't had any takers to pit road yet, apart from, of course, Isaac Edwards, and that is for carrying damage. He probably wouldn't be able to clear his CPS, it being only at the end of the first lap.
Indeed, yeah, that would have been one lap too soon, unfortunately. So looks like for this case, everyone's going to be willing to stick it out a little bit longer here, as Foster very confident under brakes through turn 1, but has to give it up a little bit there in turn 2. Can't get it, or couldn't get it, it seemed. Turned down and slowed up for the run there out of it. He's going to look for the inside of turn 3 here, Reese. Oh, Rose gets pinched. He can't get up the inside of Hanmer there this time by, at least.
Yeah, Hanmer braking a little bit later, trying to get the late apex lined up. Just covered off Foster. Nice to see. But, I mean, looking at that whole battle, how that just played out, you would say that Foster might be the one with the advantage. He's the one who's actually on the hunt, on the attack. Hanmer is driving defensively. He's looking in his mirrors. Mulqueen is breaking away. He's already gone to a 1 minute 34.1. That's 3/4 tenths faster than what anyone else has managed to do. So at the moment, it's a race for second. That is huge there. That is the Veloster of Mark Cochran that's gone around. Oh, that was a massive hit to the wall, and he's not getting that thing back to the pits. I think he's requesting a tow from race control. We might see a safety car out of this.
Yeah, that front right is absolutely gone on the number 8 machine. Fortunately, don't have an angle to really show that one off here, Reese, it seems, but just waiting on a call in this case to see this presumed safety car come out in due course. Leaders, though, they're going to carry on for the time being, so they'll wait another lap here, it seems, before taking action. Still nothing yet, though, over the radio, and so Cochran might have jumped back to the pit lane already. What I'm seeing, and there you can see the Veloster in the background of shot. There is Brady Baldwin, though. He will come to the pits to take his compulsory stop. This, though, might be, unfortunately, not great for him, because everyone else still on their merry way out on the track.
Yeah, and I think with Cochran already back in the pits, there's not much point for the safety car to come out now, even if they deemed it necessary. But yeah, the main disadvantage for Baldwin here is that he is going to have to spend the rest of the race on that set of tyres. In these cars, it's often best to split the race 50-50. Otherwise, you miss out on spending a lot of time in the best phase of the tyres heat cycle. Baldwin's pitted early here. Yeah, he will get the tyres up to temperature and set some fast laps now, but then he's going to have to deal with a bit of wear in the tyres later on in the race. Drivers who are still out there, they're still in the optimum window of their tyre temperatures. They'll be setting fast laps for a few laps longer at least. And then they'll be able to come into the pits and do it all again in the second half of the race. So now it's up to Baldwin here to try and set good times, as Isaac Edwards coming back into the pits. He did get some repairs done, but evidently that wasn't enough to completely fix his car.
Yeah, it looks like he actually had some more trouble after coming back out onto track. So we might try and grab a couple of replays in a moment. Simon Goroski's also come to the pit lane in the number 326 for Alpha Venturi Racing. So up on the jacks goes the Honda we have here in this race. Yeah, with this race at the moment being a little calm, we might jump back and see exactly what caused Mark Cochran, first of all, to unfortunately have his incident on the back straight. So coming up out of the McDonald's chicane here, this looks all well. Is it going to be the grass here?
Yep. Bam. That was a super heavy hit.
And it blew the engine too there, that dark puff of smoke. Pushing there, showing that one off. Let's see here. Brady Baldwin coming out of the pits, must have run a little bit wide, so we'll pass by that. Isaac Edwards. I'm going to say that's more a case of he's gone back out with the car that he had, and it clearly wasn't fixed enough to be able to carry on. So here we go. And looks like, a couple of our drivers, just as they're coming out of the pit lane here, they're getting maybe an off track or having to go so slow on these TCR cars because of their front wheel drive and everything. Although this isn't this is Brady Baldwin after he's gone. No, he's coming in. So yeah, apologies there. A couple of moments it seems.
Yeah, coming into the pits, he actually ran a little deep and collected the wall. And
yeah, okay.
Yeah. He's actually come into the pits for a second time,
So
interestingly.
Damage is... Oh, he picked up a black flag.
Unsafe.
Unsafe entry, probably, in that case. I think, yeah. So, yeah, Gawrowski, moment for him. Looks to be it's a case on exits here. Cold front tyres. It's a very deceptive pit exit here, which we're actually just even right on board with Gawrowski here, just to sort of show what that looks like here. A little bit of banking to start off race, but then here, hard right 90-degree turn, and just goes so slow it actually triggers an incident warning, basically, for my overlay software. So actually, no harm, no foul there for Gawrowski on that one.
Yeah, he might have cut the inside there. You can't cut that corner as Baldwin comes back out and onto the circuit again, but wow, he has lost so much time there thanks to that extra pit stop with a penalty. That's a real shame for him. Mark Cochran's still with a mechanical black flag in the lane. I don't think we'll be seeing any more of him in the first race here. But the battling out on track continues. We check back in with Tyson Hanma and James Foster fighting for second. Whoa, actually one of them goes for the pits this time. Foster trying to get an undercut here. Oh, he just manages to pull it up there on the entry into the pits. Goodness me. All right, nail the brakes. Don't get an unsafe entry penalty. He does slow down just in time for the green cones at pit entry.
Seems to pull that one up pretty nicely there. Basically just really ringing the car on the way into the pits and almost dipping the left side tyres in the grass. Thankfully, for his case, so that wasn't what happened. And maybe he lost a tenth or two, maybe. We'll have to see how what his in-lap was like. Here we'll put the 1 minute 40.55. See how that compares to, say, Tyson Hanma or Damon Mulqueen here, who are still running at the front of the field. Mark Lee has followed Foster into the pits. Speaking of which, there goes Foster off to Jackson away at 23 seconds. His turn to return to the racetrack in plenty of clean air. Actually, no, Brady Baldwin going to sneak by there, but far enough ahead that shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Yeah. All right, well, now Foster re-enters the racetrack sedately, smoothly, back onto the pace now. Got to be careful on cold tyres at the start of a stint. Those front tyres, and they'll definitely be fronts that they're changing in these cars, will be dealing with quite a bit of scrubbing to start things off. It's going to be difficult to keep the pace for this first lap or so, and that's why when you pit is so important in these cars. If you're able to get a good out lap, you can potentially undercut your rivals, and that's what Foster will be hoping for in this battle with Hanma.
Yeah, that is true. So we'll see what can be done here, because indeed, time for Hanma to exchange favours. See here, Mulqueen going to go a little bit longer in this race. Now, my timing estimating 17 laps will get completed in this one. So, for Hanma here, almost right down the middle, as per the clock and per the lap count. So, see how things work. Crucially, keep an eye on where Foster is in comparison, though. This will be important to see who gets out ahead.
Yep, there's been a problem for Mark Lee as well out on the racetrack. He ended up spinning in the triple, but no other cars involved. Let's see whether Hanma will be able to come out ahead of Foster here. He's still stopped on the jacks, still waiting, and Hanma 27 seconds stopped. Foster is going to go straight on by. So Hanma's pit stop was 4 seconds longer for some reason. That's very unfortunate. That has completely killed the battle for second place.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if we can find out what happened there. I don't think there was an issue with that. I mean, also,
might have just been like how he pulled into the box, because that is important. You've got to make sure that you're lined up properly with your box. Otherwise, it will actually take your virtual pit crew a few seconds to get repositioned.
Yeah, there is all of those little minutiae that can come into account. That is a very good point to make. So it's right up here on screen next to the timing, the gap to David Malcolm. And you can see everyone has now pitted at least once in this race and within the compulsory pit window. So just a matter of when does Damon comes. Does that sound like a bit of gravel exploration for Brady Baldwin ahead of James Foster there? Although car still pointing in the right direction. And Mulqueen still happy to carry on here. Go past the halfway marker on this one, it seems, before he'll have to come down still. Oh, it's that stop for fresh tyres.
Isaac Edwards is coming back out of the pits again. His car still looks very dinged up, especially on that front right side. But, oh dear, okay. Right, wasn't expecting that. That's Brady Baldwin, who's having to make way for James Foster. And did Baldwin run wide by himself? He did. He actually got a bit of oversteer on the entry into the first corner and nearly cleaned up Edwards.
Yeah, let's grab it here again, which the replay starts with go on board with Brady here. So
yeah, what's the steering?
Yeah, it was a curious one to watch indeed, because as you say, Isaac's going to, and yet just rears get away from him, and he's trying to gather the car, and just hear it there real quick. It's now behind us. There, unfortunately, is Isaac accidentally dispatched into the grass there for a moment.
No harm done to the car, though. Contact was avoided, but that is a shame to see, as Damon Mulqueen becomes the last car to take their compulsory pit stop, our leader, and he was leading by a good margin before he came in. He should lead by a good margin when he comes out. Now, a fast pit stop looks to be around 23 to 24 seconds, and it looks like Mulqueen has nailed that 24 seconds exactly, or thereabouts, in the lane. And Foster, well, he did have a faster pit stop and faster transit through the lane, but that is not going to help him here, because Mulqueen's going to come out about 7 seconds ahead.
Well, gap's actually going to be a little closer than that. It's,
closer than I thought.
Keep ticking down here. James Foster looking strong, it seems, on his fresh set of tyres, and also he's had now 3 laps to warm them up, so they're past the worst period for them. But I think, we'll call that one their margin of error on the lane and box times, just because it can be minor variation in it. But we'll now have to see if there's a possibility of James Foster here close. He's watching down! There's Mulqueen on the cold tyres, Reese!
Oh, that is a rare mistake from Damon Mulqueen. James Foster moves through into the lead of the race as a result of that. Oh, that is surprising. Mulqueen's going to fall back to 3rd here, potentially 4th if he can't get up to speed by the time Gorowski comes through. It looks like he's just managed to avoid that. So now, Damon Mulqueen has 9 minutes to try and get back to the front, and that's going to be difficult.
That's not one I was expecting to see out of someone like Damon. Wasn't under any pressure, and maybe just completely called out, it seems, by... Because obviously, with only needing to change 2 tyres, and these tyres do change 1 at a time on this car, you will just change the front tyres to be able to make sure you've got maximum grip at the front end. And that just means you've got a major imbalance on the first couple of laps whilst you bring a set of fresh tyres back up to temperature. When you're driving in these front-wheel drive TCR cars doing this kind of sprint racing. And so, just really unexpected moment there. Let's see if we can actually try and catch that one on board of sorts with Damon, just see how much time he had to respond to this.
Yeah, it was coming into the second apex of the triple. The car looked all right there, but as soon as he gets on the brakes and the car's turning, the rears just say, no thanks. We've spent some time cooling down in the pits. We won't be giving you the grip that you want, Damon. And unfortunately, Mulqueen having to keep himself off the racing line there as the field went by. So now Simon Gorowski could potentially be looking at a third place out of this. How's Mulqueen going to the triple this time? He's still struggling a little with the rear end, but seems that he has gotten up to speed properly now, though it does seem he's a little bit shaken by that.
Yeah, he'll just have to really ease things in. I think it was a load and say it, throws it right up and over the curbs through McDonald's. So not afraid to press on here, try and at least get second place back. He1 now. Certainly looks like it's going to be off the cards here. So question here, can Gorowski go with? We're just looking behind here. Not going to help. Gorowski is unfortunately a bit of traffic in the form of Mark Lee there in the 027. But gets out of the way without doing too much harm, I think, to Gorowski's lap time. Hopefully not shaking his rhythm too much here, but let's see what Damon can do. About it's like 2 and a bit seconds behind Tyson Hamner ahead. Let's see now what he can do to catch, close this margin down, I should say.
Yes, well, Mulqueen's fastest lap of the race is a 1 minute 33.2. Hanma's fastest lap so far is a 1 minute 33.6, and at the moment, Hanma is setting low 1 minute 34s. So I think Mulqueen could still have a chance at grabbing second spot. He's only got 2.5 seconds or thereabouts to make up, and if he's making up like 3 or 4 tenths a lap, then he should just be able to get that done. But we don't know how consistently Hanma's going to be driving here, especially now that he's had some time to get used to the car. Our leader, James Foster, meanwhile, he's running very close to his optimum pace. He set a 1 minute 33.6 on the last lap, so I think he's definitely in the box seat to win and then get the pole position start for race 2.
Let's bring up also, before I'll go have a look at James, but yeah, looking here at this current lap between Tyson and Damon, it's pretty even. It looks like a lot of time lost in the second sector which at this circuit. I'll actually have to try and have a look at where the sector starts, because it's one of the iRacing sectors, but it's not necessarily perfectly aligned given that like many iRacing tracks. So we have more than 3 sectors, I think, here at Oschersleben. So I'll have to keep an eye on that and try and tell you for reference where those sectors are. Because you see here in the final sector there, which was just out, well, into the back straight there, picked up a couple of tenths as well.
So a big gain from Mulqueen.
Let's just bring up here. So
yeah, fastest lap.
Yeah, that'll do it there. Almost hits the 32 bracket. So Tyson doing okay, but Damon now, I think, really going to start turning the screws here to close this margin down. And just see how long it takes for him to be back into at least second place here.
So on board with the Synergy car coming up to the triple. This is where he had his spin. Will he be able to hold on to it this time? Tyres are up to temperature, and from what I can see, yeah, that's how a car should be behaving through that part of the track.
Yeah, so looking better now as we come through turn 7 here. So second sector begins at the start of those little like home markers, isn't it? Before we turn in for triple, and then comes all the way down here to about the 100 board. So that's what sector 2 is. So it's a combination of both, your mid-speed cornering, but also your run onto the back straight there, and how that in turn converts into a good top speed around this circuit. So you're telling me Damien seems to be, at this point in the race at least, definitely got a little bit more rotation in the car and is able to get on the power earlier through those longer corners.
Yeah, that's something that he's highlighted a couple of times this season when we've been talking to him. Synergy have worked really hard on their setups for this. Check back in with Foster as Mulqueen goes faster still. He's almost at a 33 flat there, so beware everyone else trying to chase the fastest lap. Foster, meanwhile, setting a 133.7. That's more or less the same pace that Hanma's doing, so lead shouldn't be under threat unless, of course, Foster makes a mistake. And we've seen that even the likes of Damon Mulqueen can fall prey to errors out there on the circuit. We still have 3 minutes left of this race to go.
Yeah, looking at 2 laps when we get to the line here for James, at least. So there is a little bit more left in this one for the time being, as And the drivers will finish this thing up. And yeah, it's going to be a question of how long it's going to take Damon to be right on the back of Tyson here and be able to conquer challenge for this position. Looking out the back of the number 18 Hyundai Elantra. See there, Mulqueen up on the big red curve. He's up on it again there. Hanmers are really avoiding the usage of the curbs here, it seems, in comparison, Reese. More stable ride is beneficial, but at the same time, if you've got the car set right, using the big curbs to rotate the car over them certainly comes to your advantage, although after the final turn, that is entirely down to mechanical grip, it seems, and confidence in the car. Curb or no curb.
Yeah, it's the second last lap now that these guys are on. Now, a little bit of a wiggle for Hanma through turn 1, but he keeps it stable through turn 2. On board with Mulqueen here. That's on the end plate of the rear wing or thereabouts. He's getting a much better exit out of these mid-speed corners, isn't he? And he's actually a little more aggressive on entry too. He was much further over to the right-hand side. Wider entry to the corner, able to carry a little bit more speed, but Hanma through that corner seems to have the acceleration down pat. How is the gain through this very twisty part of the circuit? There's barely any complaints at all from Mulqueen's car, is there? He's just able to place that thing coming into turn 7.
Nice and tidy. And throw it up, because although maybe a little aggressive there through the McDonald's chicane, just trying to capitalise fully on the pace advantage he's got over Tyson Hanma, and goes back maybe a tenth or two, and therefore gives up a chance at really coming to an attack late in this lap, is what I would have said, until Hanma, that tiniest bit wide there at the end of the back straight through that chicane, Reese, just brings Mulqueen right to his gearbox, and here through the penultimate turn, even more time gain for the number 42 machine. Not able to set one up for the final corner, but now the run to turns 1 and 2, and the white flag going to be in the hand of Barney as well.
Yep. Last lap has started from James Foster. Now it's all down to Mulqueen here, whether or not he'll be able to get past Hanma into second place. Oh, a little bit of a twitch on the way into turn 1. That's not going to help Mulqueen at all. Had to gather it up through turn 2. That is a couple of valuable tenths lost, but he gains them back there on the exit. This is where Hanma was able to get such a good exit last lap. Mulqueen a little bit wider on entry, straighter exit, and it looks like he is gaining a little bit. They're almost level there going out of the third corner into the triple then. Tiny little complaint from the rear end for Hanma. Mulqueen straightens it up nicely for turn 7, dives in. They stick all the way to the inside. And on the run up to McDonald's, this is where they could pick up a slowdown if they're too aggressive. Mulqueen has never been this close to another car through this corner before. Looks like he's just managed to keep it within track limits, though. More speed carried through turn 10, and that's resulted in a good run onto the back stretch. But I think a move into this corner is not going to work out. It's just too fast, and he's too far back. But could be a chance at the final turn. Further up the field, James Foster is going to come through to win the first race of 2-litre Tourers here at Oschersleben. Good job from him. And it looks like Hanma is going to hold off Mulqueen in the end. Damon just couldn't go for the dive at the final corner, which is where we saw a lot of the passes being made in AOG V8 Super Series on Monday night. Hanma finishes second and Mulqueen in third.
Tight margin, though, there as they came across the line, just under 0.2 of a second between the 18 and the 42. So that was certainly a good fight to watch there, that's for sure. Simon Goroski will slip home there in 4th place in behind, and that rounds out the drivers who end up finishing on the lead lap of that race. So, yeah, it's definitely a little brutal on some of the drivers there, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah, James Foster by 9.5 seconds takes victory over Tyson Hanma and Damon Mulqueen. Damon will be on the fight back in the second race. Gorowski, again, last car on the lead lap, with Baldwin and Lee finishing a lap down. Edwards 6 laps down after a lot of time spent in the pits, and Mark Cochran retiring early thanks to a huge smash coming out of turn 10. Well, now we move through into our second race. It's going to be another 25-minute sprint with compulsory pit stop for everyone in the field for at least 2 tires, Dan. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not Mulqueen is able to fight back. How good of a start is he going to get? And will he get into the lead by the time they get to the pit stops?
Oh, I think there's a fair chance of that. Going to be on the front, or back in P3, sorry, actually he's in the front row for this one, but close enough to the front of the field, I would think. But yeah, certainly should be in with a good chance of getting right back up front and therefore into the thick of things. Short pause here wraps up, and that means we can then confirm for you once again the grid for race number 2 is going to have James Foster and Tyson Hanmer sharing the front row on this one here. And then it'll be in behind Damon Mulqueen and Simon Gorowski on the second row. Brady Bolton, sorry, will be starting P5. First of our cars a lap down there, sharing row 3 with Mark Lee and Isaac Edwards and Mark Cochran to round out our field to start things off, I should say, here in this final race tonight, race for the 2-litre Tourers.
Yeah, good to see that Mark Cochran has stayed in the server for race 2. I've lost count of the amount of times that we've had some drivers crash out of the first race and then decide to call it a night from there. So good to see that Mark is sticking it out here. We'll try and get a good finish in race 2 here at Oschersleben. So all the cars are now on the grid. We still have some time to wait here. Well, actually, we don't. The time ticks down to 0, and we get ready for the green flag with the revs rising. And we are away. It looks to me like now it is the turn of Mark Lee to have issues getting the car off the line, but no one else involved with him this time around. Side by side for second, with Tyson Hanmer getting the inside for turn 1. Damon Mulqueen has to yield, but wait a couple of corners and we'll see Damon come steaming up to the back of his fellow Velosters in the lead here. But this is good for Foster. He's gotten a great start. He already enjoys a few car lengths gap. He can build on that with a clear track ahead.
Yeah, that's going to be really important here, is cold tyres for everyone. Going to be tough as Baldwin there, demonstrating exactly the perils here on lap 1. You have to be conservative. You cannot approach this lap like you were racing at the end of that opening race you've just come out of as well. So you've got to completely remember to reset the way you go about things, and you can just see how cautious Hanmer has to be trying to get this car into the corners. It means that Mulqueen a little more comfortable, it seems, on corners. He's attacking the curb, something fierce still, despite being on cold rubber here, Reese. Although, still about a car length there between himself and Hanmer, means he shouldn't be able to be, or shouldn't be in a position to make an attacking move here at the end of the backstraight. And indeed, single file for our top 3, at least here on the opening lap of race 2.
Right. Oh, actually, look at that. Hanmer and Mulqueen getting a slightly better exit from the left-right sequence. James Foster in a bit of trouble as he actually catches the gravel there coming into the penultimate corner. A lot of space there beyond the curb for you to use, because that's where the pit entry is. Someone stopped behind. It's Mark Cochran. He stopped at the exit of the final corner. I don't know the reason for that. Seems like he was proceeding along fairly well, but then he just came to a stop.
Okay, well, so that might be worth having a look at in that case, but maybe not.
I think a hardware failure, maybe. I don't know. He just kept the steering in and got straight on the brakes.
Yeah, that does sound pretty suggestive. Unfortunately, a technical problem for Mark. That also might explain why wasn't able to call for a tow in race 1 when probably would have warranted a safety car in that situation as well. But he's back moving again at least, although he's going. Car looks undamaged. To see the rest of the field up around McDonald's, he's now back here on his own, but might be okay a little bit longer at least.
All right, now the battles are starting to heat up. We're looking at 4th and 5th here. Simon Gorowski versus Brady Baldwin, and on board with Brady. He has got everything to play for here after an unsuccessful race 1. But, man, he is monstering those curbs, and the car was massively unsettled there. He's going to have to work hard to get that gap back. Gorowski into the gravel ahead, and have a look at that. Mulqueen in early, Baldwin in early. Both of our Synergy Elantras, have come in right at the start of the pit window.
This tells me they don't want to be on cold tyres midway through the race. I guess if you're Damon Mulqueen, yeah, that I would agree with that one there. You check that one off as soon as possible and avoid a repeat of what happened there in race 1. And see that, and that also suggests to me they're confident that the tyres aren't going to be burned down too much here in this 25-minute race, despite the fact that there are some long corners around this circuit. But at the same time also, there is the fact that we do maybe want to consider the weather here in the session tonight, Reese, and it is modest. Nothing too hot, but certainly still not cold temps by any stretch of the means.
Yeah, 31-degree track temperature. That seems reasonably warm, and that's what you'd expect for this area of the world at this time of year. Of course, it just being sort of late summer in Europe at this time of the year, and central Germany being a very temperate area of the globe. So I think that, yeah, that makes sense, considering those conditions, that Baldwin and Mulqueen wouldn't expect the tyres to be burnt up. Hammer in.
Yeah, so that's a response immediately.
Gorowski too.
All right, so drivers, I mean, no surprise here, David Mulqueen has been setting the tempo. Yeah. Someone like David Mulqueen has been setting the tempo all season long, pretty much until now. I am not surprised to see drivers here responding to their moves. They get an extra lap here on warm tyres. They might have been able to make advantage out of that as a result. See, though, if they'll be able to then defend on their cold tyres once they complete their stops here. As focus on Mulqueen on this outlap of his. Looks pretty steady for the time being.
Yeah, it does indeed. Well, now we wait to see who's the bit first off the jacks. It is going to be Tyson Hanma. Gorowski and Edwards quickly follow, and to the end of the pits he comes. It looks like they've actually jumped the Synergy guys by quite some margin. Look at that. Hanma out on the circuit, and there is Mulqueen behind. So the gap has increased there. Looks like a little overcut for these three has benefited them quite a bit.
Surprising there that, yeah, for all of Damon's extra pace, he's tackling cold tyres. As Hanna has half a moment, but he's able to hang on to it there on that occasion. But once again, another driver on cold rubber, almost losing it.
Again! Same thing Mulqueen did in race 1.
Except, oh no!
It keeps going. Oh no! It could have been a master call on strategy, but instead all Tyson Hanma's gotten is some dinged panels.
Oh, no!
Oh my goodness! Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Isaac Edwards evidently having the same issue.
Righto, well, Simon Gorowski also jumping on the radio, so we saw what happened. I mean, yeah, once he saves it, twice he saves it. Unfortunately, the third time was not to be, but what's the fact that Gorowski and Edwards have both just jumped on the radio race? I'm thinking there might be something a little more to what happened between them here.
No, they were a long way apart.
Yeah. So no, just as you said, a repeat. Oh, it's a twitching there, and then he's wide, and there's a little dip in the road, and just and then trying to gather it up, and flick spin.
I think I've seen what Gorowski's call was for, as that was quite the whack. Yeah, look at this through turn 7 here. Gorowski slows it down nice and stable for the corner, and then Baldwin decides, okay, I'm going to go for the move here on exit. A little bit of a tap on exit, I think.
Yeah, little nudge. To me, that's probably fair.
Yeah, I wouldn't call that. Yeah, I wouldn't call that an incident necessarily.
Right to live pictures, and Isaac Edwards is still struggling with the car. No wonder why. Yeah, because of course the contact has completely obliterated the left rear. Yeah, that Isaac's going to be really struggling to get that car into it. It's completely ruined the axle on that car there. Meanwhile, Foster still sticking it out at the front of the field here.
He's joined by the two marks, Lee and Cochrane.
Well, as you say that.
Well, yeah, just as I say that, it is only one mark who remains out on circuit here. In one of the few Velosters in this field, if not the only Veloster. So up into second now goes Cochrane. Lee's pit stop. We should expect around about 23 to 24 seconds, as has been the case with everyone so far in this race.
On by at the very bottom of the screen. Also slaps a new fastest lap on the board as Lee just waiting a little long there. As it came back down off the jacks. But away without too much fuss there at least.
Yeah, cost him a few seconds. I'm going to look at his cockpit view and see. Oh, did he actually stall it? I'm not sure.
It is a fair possibility, yeah. No driver aids permitted in any of these SCOPS support sessions, and that includes the anti-stall clutch. So you have to make sure, yeah, you know, to have that clutch pulled and ready to go once you hit first gear.
Lee had trouble on pit exit, actually. That might be worth a replay as Foster comes into the lane. Yeah, Lee unfortunately losing the rear end on the left turn coming out of the pits, and had a big whack into the Armco.
All right, we will grab that then in a moment. Just watch here. Foster and Mulqueen. Who's going to come out ahead of these two on lap pace? Seem like odds are in Mulqueen's favour to be able to take this one away from Foster. And yeah, he's still in the box. Slow stop for Foster.
No.
And
oh no, over 30 seconds. This is going to be tight.
In fact, I'd argue it's not even close. As there we go, Foster.
Yeah, there we go.
Now, as Mulqueen now comfortably streaks into the effective race lead and is able to take Brady Baldwin with him.
Yeah, Synergy 1-2 right now. As Foster falls back to P5. That's a real shame for him. Mark Lee still having problems out on the circuit. He's just gone for a big spin. Oh, Foster's going slow.
He has just requested permission to tow. So,
what's going on?
Presuming something just linear. Has he lost it? Oh.
Lost his shifter.
Yeah.
Paddle problems. No.
Nope. Just grabs third now. Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll keep you posted.
What's the deal? What's the issue?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see as to exactly what's happening.
So, Foster looks like he's back up to speed now. But, yeah, he had a bit of an adventurous pit exit. He did catch the grass, but didn't seem to be anything too egregious. And then he just lifted off the throttle for some reason coming out of turn 2. So, Mark Lee, instability, already carrying damage from his incident at exit of pit lane.
So I was thinking this might be it, but nope, this is after he's come out of the pits. The trouble here is him exiting the pit lane. This will be a good look. Let's see here. Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Bump in the pit lane, and yep, right on the nose of the 027.
That'll do it. That'll do it. And James Foster is back in pit lane. Evidently, whatever technical or hardware issue he's experiencing at the moment has proven too much, and he is not able to continue for the time being. So he pulls back into his pit box. Is this going to be the end of James Foster's night?
I get the feeling it might just be, yeah.
Yeah, he's exited the car.
Well,
he's out.
Unfortunately, it's paid to a possible fight for the race 2 win here in 2 Litre Touras. Just over halfway into it. Mark Cochrane yet to come to the pit lane in the number 8 Veloster. The Apex Esports League entry here tonight. But strong in qualifying. Accidentally cost himself the race win to start the night off, but now Mulqueen going to be back on form here as he's got himself 4 seconds back to his teammate and Brady Baldwin. The way that's grown from about 3 and a bit seconds already on this lap alone, Reese, I'd suggest that number's not really under much threat now, that Mulqueen will probably be quite comfortable with where his car is at.
Yeah, he's in the rhythm now, isn't he? He's working his way through to what should be, or what he's hoping to be, the next of many wins he's already taken in this series. He's been pretty dominant in the championship, and it seemed like on raw pace, no one's quite been able to match him. So let's hope that there is a bit more competition for Mulqueen in the final rounds, because all things considered, the only competition he's got in this round has been from himself.
Yep, a couple of unexpected errors there. Definitely throwing a solid curveball the way of things. Let's have a look here, because unfortunately everyone has spaced out now, as you can see, interval gaps rather than the gaps that are leader. So inside 10 seconds from Mark Cochran to Damon Mulqueen, and then 4.5 seconds there back from Mulqueen to teammate Brady Baldwin. Simon Gorowski, another 4 seconds back again, which does make it closest battle on track for the time being, and well, presumably that's the way that will stay, because Isaac Edwards here on his own, still getting around despite what looks like a nasty or badly caved in left rear corner, making that work somehow. Reese, and behind him his teammate Mark Lee, also walking wounded, and Tyson Hanmer, unfortunately, he too quite at full speed and capacity. You can see Mulqueen actually not far off, putting him a lap down to second place.
Yeah, long way down for Hanmer as Mulqueen gets back onto the fastest lap rostrum again. He's been the only driver to get down to that level of lap time, hasn't he? Those low 1:33s, almost touching the 1:32 territory. Hanmer here has been setting low to mid 1:34s over the course of this race, and can't help but wonder if things had been a little different in the lead up to this point, would we have had a closer battle for the lead, with Mulqueen potentially threatened by Foster and Hanmer, who, remember, started 1 and 2. Now they are last and second last.
Definitely not the way we want to see drivers have their nights ended. In Tyson's case, it speaks to the challenge of these cars and having to be on top of them in terms of knowing what your limits are when you've got a car that's unbalanced on tyre temperatures. So definitely not what he would have wanted. But we can fix it. We'll see, hopefully, what it's like next time around. Thinking back at Simon Gorowski here, because I actually went from almost 5 seconds down onto Ray Ball and back up to inside of 5 for a moment, and then it just trickles out again. Just seeing here the ebb and flow between these drivers. There's one at the end of the front straight there, Reese in the background, but also just maybe slightly different characteristics of these cars, and that they do have a balance of performance in a sense that they have characteristics to them. They will have certain strengths and weaknesses depending on the track and certain parts of the track too.
Yeah, and then that's part of the reason why the Elantra, the Hyundai Elantra has been the most popular car in the class for the time being. It's got a long wheelbase, longer wheelbase than the Veloster or the Honda Civic Type R, and that allows it a little bit more stability. It doesn't have as much of a tendency to snap as the other TCR cars do. The Honda has a shorter wheelbase and certainly handles very nicely, but doesn't seem to like curbs and bumps as much as the other cars do. So that's part of the trade-off that you have to consider. I mean, I'm interested to see that we've barely seen any appearances from an Audi RS3. That was the first TCR car added to iRacing, and it's still been an incredibly popular car in official TCR racing. So I find it bizarre that we've only seen appearances from the two Hyundais and the Honda so far.
I mean, yeah, it is almost a bit of an odd one out compared to the other, the Hyundai and Hondas here in the series in a couple of aspects.
The Audi's quick.
Yeah, it's decently quick, although it has a bit of an interesting pogo effect over curb. A bit like, well, in the sense that it's a bit like the Honda doesn't like curbs. It's just that, and it demonstrates that through a very interesting side-to-side pogo motion. If it gets into a bumpy part of the track or curbs it particularly doesn't appreciate. There's also the fact that it is a different gearbox style. It actually is effectively an Audi dual-clutch gearbox that's been slightly modified to run in a race situation, which means that it's got incredible acceleration. But you also basically never use first gear, as I'm sure you will be familiar with this.
Yeah.
Of course, both of us have driven TCR cars for decent periods of time, but for those who are listening to us and haven't heard, so you basically don't use first gear in the Audi, whereas in the Hyundais, at the very least, and I think the Hondas a little bit, they've got more traditional racing sequential gearboxes, and first gear's quite long in comparison. And depending on the track, although we're realistically talking, you have to take these cars to some place like the Nürburgring Nordschleife. As Malcolm now, a little exploratory with the track limits. But thankfully, he hasn't done that too many times tonight, so it's not really an issue for him. And you'd have to go to somewhere like Nürburgring Nordschleife, maybe the Daytona Road Course, to really have an issue where the Audi actually runs out of steam at the top end at the end of the long straight compared to the other cars in class.
Yeah, exactly. The ratios of that DSG gearbox, they can take a little getting used to. I found when I was driving the Audi regularly, I didn't even use second gear a lot of the time, just because third gear was so low, and it worked so nicely for just about every corner. But yeah, you're right. Once you get into that sixth and final gear, it ends up running out of steam very quickly, bouncing off the rev limiter where the other TCR cars can just keep going. Well, we won't be able to find what the difference is between the cars now in this series, at least for a while, because as far as I'm aware, there aren't any Audis signed up to be running in the series, or at least any that we can expect to show up. 4 minutes to go in race 2, and the gaps are still pretty much insurmountable at the moment for a lot of these drivers. We do still have Mark Cochran owing us a pit stop, but he should come out in about, I'd say, 4th spot, maybe a little bit ahead of Isaac Edwards. Other than that, this is the way things stand towards the end. Oh, and actually, just as I say that, Cochran runs deep in turn 1, and he has lost more valuable time. That's Hanmer going by. Hanmer, of course, still a lap down. But now, Mulqueen is in sights of making a pass for the race lead on a car that hasn't taken their CPS yet. Doesn't have much time to do it.
Yep, just been advised over the radio. Actually, it'll be the end of this lap, sorry. So let me actually update that information. I thought that we had this lap and one more, but no. The instruction over the radio is that must come in at the end of this lap to serve the compulsory. So it's going to this time certain format for the 2-litre Tourers, and it's usually with SCOPS and SCOPS supports categories. When we have compulsory stop races, it's very easily defined by no earlier than the end of lap 2, and no later than the end of no later than the start of the penultimate lap. Should get that number right there. You have to do at least 2 laps after you pit before taking a checkered flag, if you're on the lead lap, that is. So yeah, Cochran here will need to deviate left. Indeed he will, which will offer up race lead once more, and what might feel like finally for Damon Mulqueen back into his hands here.
Yeah, there we go. So with 2 minutes left on the clock, Mulqueen will be starting his second last lap, and he may very well put Tyson Hanmer another lap down if he continues catching up to him like he is. Cochran comes into his box, and We're not expecting anything too far out of the ordinary for the number 8. Question is, where is he going to come out? Will he actually have the gap he needs over Isaac Edwards to maintain 4th spot? At this point, looks like it.
Yeah, it should be the case. There is Cochrane in the lane. Edwards coming around the final turn just now. We'll wait to see Cochrane off the Jackson rolling. Indeed, 25 seconds. It's getting close though on the pit exit.
Could be tight. Isaac Edwards coming in at speed into the first couple of turns.
Got him.
And yeah.
Well, I said that.
Well, he holds on to it.
Okay.
And he has warmed up tyres to boot, so he'll be able to maintain a bit more pace than Cochrane will be able to anyway.
Because immediately you see there Cochrane maybe might have caught a glimpse of Edwards a little slow on the exit entry to turn 2. Tried to really push it on corner exit, and he's washing out wide there as well at turn 3. Just this is the problem in going late on your stop, is now you're he's in a spot where he wants to be aggressive, but he can't afford to be. Now really gentle through triple. And yeah, as a result, going to be a bit of a slow finish for him, I would suspect. Meanwhile, though, at the front of the field, Mulqueen, now just 1 lap left of Oschersleben to wrap up his Friday night of supports racing here. And Tyson Hammer might just hang on to the lead lap. He's also going to go after Mark Lee's 6th place spot here.
Yeah, he is. And this is a nice little fight here on the final lap. Hammer through. That was a lovely little move.
He's been hunting him down reasonably quickly, but then all of a sudden picked up basically 3 seconds on Mark Lee in the past lap. And that's insane. I can grab both of them here. We can compare them on the tower, and yeah, that'll do it. In fact, there's indeed exactly pretty much 3 seconds. His name, Tyson Hanma, and that will keep him on the lead lap and up a spot to try and reduce the deficit there. It seems just a little bit. He will get a chance to do 1 more lap after this. And something's wrong. Something's wrong with Mulqueen. He's lost a lot of time.
He has. He's going slow. Is this a? I think they're doing a photo finish. Yeah.
These boys.
Synergy.
Making me think there's actual dramas, but no, they're gonna, indeed, as you call it, they're gonna do a bit of a poster shot. And yeah, see here, Brady tuck in, get right up alongside, but not ahead of Damon Mulqueen, and yeah, cruise it across the line there to make it look nice and neat and tidy. And check that one off for the boys here. Another race 2, I should say. This goes their way. Recovery. Gorowski will round out the podium there in the 326 Alpha Venturi machine. Feels like a quiet night for him, for Reese, but 4th and 3rd. Not a bad night for him. Just leaves out the last couple of cars to round out this race. Everyone, apart from James Foster retiring, he's going to finish this one here on the lead lap as well.
Yeah, nicely done for everyone involved. And, well, Cochrane finishes on the lead lap and in 5th spot. Nicely done. Hanma and Lee have already taken to the finish, it seems.
Not on my end.
And really?
Yeah,
interesting, because
they were a couple of seconds ahead of Damon before he backed off to let Brady catch up. So yeah, they should be all good in that sense.
Mark has actually gathered quite a bit of damage
yes, he has had
on this lap. Yeah, had a couple of moments, it seems. But it wasn't. Got to take care towards the finish. There goes Hanma. 6th place at the end. Sorry, my timing screen lied to me. And one more off-track excursion there for Mark Lee. Coming across the line to finish in 7th spot. So, that concludes the racing action for the 2-litre Tourers here in the V8SCOPS support series. Big thanks to Wilson's Industrial Sales for your support of this one, as well as OKMS Media and Graphics on the other categories as well. Mulqueen, Baldwin, Gorowski, your podium with Isaac Edwards and Mark Cochran rounding out the top 5. It's Hanma and Lee to the finish, and James Foster, unfortunately, our retirement from that first race. Things could have been a lot different if we had seen drivers having a little bit of a better time out there. But we're joined by Damon Mulqueen, winner of race 2 here. Damon, it wasn't an entirely smooth sailing night for you. Let's talk about what happened in race 1. Seemed like when you came out of the pits, the rear got away from you.
Yeah, that was a me problem. I sort of thought the car, the back end of the car was going to hold up a little bit better on the cold tyre, but it said no. So that's all on me. We had Brady and I, we both had rocket cars. Brady did a mega job considering he's just arrived back yesterday from doing 30 hours of flying from the States. So he's done very limited practice and to, come away with a pretty decent result. And race 2, unfortunately, fell a little bit foul of the pit exit blend line, I think, in race 1, the first stop. So, he's done a mega effort on the limited time that he's had, and he's definitely feeling it. So, big props to him. And, I've got to thank the guys at Synergy and all of our sponsors for giving us, just mega cars week in and week out, well, round in and round out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, congratulations, Damon, and let's just get your thoughts on the track briefly before we let you go. We've noticed that it's a bit of a difficult track to make passes on, but it provides an interesting technical challenge to the drivers with so many long corners.
Yes, especially that triple left-hander. It definitely is a very... it may look as simple on the track map and on paper, but at least in these things... It probably brings out the worst in the understeer of the TCRs here, 2-litre Tourers, sorry. It just doesn't want to turn, and with the way you want to get the cars to rotate using the rear, it's very easy for it to step out, even on warm tyres. So it's a really, really fine balance. And then, it is a very difficult track to set up a pass in these cars, especially with them being very, very even. And as long as you're hitting your apexes and being smooth coming onto the throttle on corner exits, it's very, very difficult to try and set something up, which then brings into play, the fuss doing the 2 mandatory pit stops across both, the mandatory pit stop in both races. It brings a little bit of extra element into it of, if you can have a nice in lap and a good out lap, yeah.
Yeah, well, in any case, it's a third and a first for you tonight, Damon, and another good points haul to consolidate that championship lead that you've held for a very long time. Is there anyone specific you'd like to shout out for that?
This week, there is someone extra to shout out, a fellow named Ross. I was stuck for ideas with set up to try and actually get that triple left-hander to work, as well as he gave me a few pointers on some driving style. Ross, pretty high up there in the TCR scene over in Europe. So racing with him, against him sort of deal in World Touring Car, he's opened up to, provide a bit of assistance in that regard. So really got to thank him, because that's definitely helped both Brady and I tonight. All the crew at Synergy Sim Racing, all of our sponsors, as you know, we've got plenty of them, so it'd take quite a wee while to rant them all off, but they know who they are. We greatly appreciate it, and yeah, now it's hopefully we'll try. Brady and I are going to go for a 1-2 in the championship as well as the team's championship, so let's bring on the rest of the season, bring on Bathurst.
Yeah, indeed. That's where we're going to be seeing the next round of supports action. Well, that was Damon Mulqueen joining us there in the comms box. We're going to step aside briefly here on SimSpeed TV and bring you the Flat Sixes coming up next in the V8SCOPS support series here at Oschersleben. You're watching SimSpeed TV, the 11th event of the V8SCOPS support series for 2023. We just had the 2-litre Tourers race, and there was some interesting action in that, but man, we have got plenty more action on its way to you right now with the flat sixes getting ready for a 3-race format here tonight. Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars around Oschersleben for 17 laps times 3. And we've got a full field invert in there somewhere as well. Hopefully you'll be able to join us for the rest of this night because it's been good so far. It's only going to get better. Once again, I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman with me in the comms box and handling production. Well, Dan, we saw that the 2-litre Tourers handled Oschersleben very nicely, though a little bit leery at times. Now we put both the engine and the drive wheels at the other end of the car.
We do indeed, and we're curious to see how things go, because funnily enough, this car as well isn't exactly... well, having spoken to guys who are running this car at the moment, getting ready for various things, they too feel like this car does struggle a lot with understeer, despite the because whether it's something to do with the fact that yes, the engine is at the back behind the rear axle still in classic Porsche configuration, but a track like this with mostly long corners, mid to low speed, some drivers said they might struggle here with getting the car to well, not pull up, but at least get it to get it into the corners. The front end seems to struggle here with bite, but that's something to see how they behave out there on track in a moment's time.
Now, one more look at the layout of Oschersleben, which has a twisty first sector. Couple of short straights, short blasts between the first few corners, and then a never-ending sequence of turning from 4 to 10, and then a little bit of a rest down the second half of the circuit. These cars that we're going to be racing in the flat sixes do carry a little bit more speed, and by a little I mean a lot, than the 2-litre Tourers. Pretty much similar pace to what we're going to be seeing out of the V8 support race tomorrow night. So we should be expecting lap times round about a minute 27 to a minute 28 out there for our 3 17-lap races tonight. No mandatory pit stops, but race 2 does carry a complete reverse grid, Dan. That should introduce some chaos.
It might just indeed, yeah. Be curious to see how drivers handle that one here. It is, once again, a modest field tonight. Look at the magic number. It's somewhere around 10, maybe. I could actually make sure to discount the other 2 race control team members in Aaron Gilbert and Henry King, and then count them up. Actually, we might just crack 11 possibly at this stage, if I can count correctly. But we'll get to that when we get to that in some respects, because, yeah, they're out on track now. Qualifying is underway. We'll let the driving do the talking here for the moment. This is just getting ready to roll here in the session. It starts everyone getting lined up for their first run at qualifying laps.
Yes, so top of the timesheets in practice was Dylan Shepherd, 1 minute 27.0, but we cast our eyes further forward to the 216 of Peter Pavlovich, and then also Taylor Oakes chasing him down too. Nice variance of teams and liveries in this session at the moment. We shall see how much pace these guys will be able to get out of these cars, because 2 of the guys I'm expecting up the top of this session, Dan, Cameron Dance and Simon Mazzomo, they didn't set practice times.
See how they go then. Dance rocking the number 1, defending series champion from last year's iteration of the flat sixes. Oof. Yep, like Damon Mock, we're not afraid to absolutely abuse the curb there on the entry to the McDonald's chicane, and looks to be okay in terms of not getting an off track there. So I believe Dance here will be the first car to set a flying lap, although actually it might have been Matthew Deere who snuck in ahead of him. Indeed, there we go, Matthew Deere, first time on the board at the 129.7. Stay here with Dance for a second and see how his opening attempt at the flying lap will compare.
Yeah, part of the Orbit Motorsport crew with Taylor Oakes is Cameron Dance. And across the line, he'll come to set a 1 minute 27.5. That's half a second off Dylan Shepard's fastest lap from practice. Pavlovich slots into second with a 128.778. And now we wait to see what the likes of Oaks, Mazomo, etc. will be able to do. Mazomo's gone for a couple of slower sort of laps to get things started. He's just gearing up now, I think, for a proper attempt at a hot lap. This time that we're about to see from him will be a bit of a banker. Mazomo's talent has really blossomed since he joined the crew at 9.5 Sim Sports. There you go, a little bit more weaving coming on to the start-finish straight. This is probably going to be his actual hot lap we're seeing here. He has looked very good in the Porsche 911 GT3 Cup, especially in Southern Cross Esports that we broadcast every third Wednesday night. Mazomo getting podiums in that series, and into turn 3 now, you can see that he is working the wheel nicely, just pulling himself out of the corners with that rear wheel drive, blasting him on the way down to the triple. Now, this is an interesting corner in a rear wheel drive car. I mean, you don't have to manage the rear as much as you do in a front wheel drive car, but you often see people running a little bit deeper there in turn 7 just to straighten the exit out.
Just had a bit of a moment there on the exit of turn 7. Still struggling to get the car right where he wants it, it seems. So this might take a little bit more preparation from Mazomo to be really comfortable with the car here. And that does sort of line up. This car isn't quite perfect out of the box. It really does take a couple of laps to warm up, but he's not careful here. This lap will put him basically with very little time to spare to get things sorted. And that'll mean maybe another 1 or 2 laps to really get into the swing of things here. As you come to the line for his first flyer, and actually going to go provisional P2 there with that one.
Yeah, good stuff. Only a couple of tenths off Cameron Dance, and well, it looks like he's backed off now.
So let's go again one more time.
Yeah, he's got, well, a lap around here takes 1 minute and 28 seconds, let's say, on average. So if Mazomo only takes another 2 minutes to come around to start again, he should be able to get a final lap in, as Matthew Deere goes to second place, 127.7. Dylan Shepard puts his first lap on the board, and it is not a flyer. It's a 136.910. So that's everyone save for Sheedy, Timores, Miller, and Pedersen, who have yet to set times. That's someone who's gone for a spin there. Looks like Matthew Deere, actually, having just gone to provisional P2, looping it out of turn 2.
A bit of an oops there, and that'll actually be something interesting to see. If he goes nice and slow here, the tyres might be okay. If he pushes on a little aggressively here, that might also put the tyres at risk too. So I have to make sure he doesn't overdrive it yet on the way back. There isn't time to go to the pits, get a new set of tyres on and get back out. So this is going to have to be it for him. Make sure that he gets this right as he winds his way out of turn 7 here. Pressing on this particular setup and run. So I'm saying it's no real slow time for Matthew Deere here as Ben Peterson jumps up into P2 with a 27.6. It's getting nice and close here at the top end of the town. Simon Mazomo just coming now to get ready for a 2 we can do. Oh, sorry, he'll just get 1 chance to do this. So this is it for him to improve on a 27.717 and get back up onto the front row of the grid here. It's definitely tight, 2nd through 4th, but throw in P1 as well. Cam Dance not that far ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, and Peter Pavlovich only another 2 tenths behind Mazomo, so this is looking very competitive in flat sixes with just 2 minutes left in the session. All right, let's see what Mazomo can do. Dylan Shepard, meanwhile, I think is just managed to get across the line in time to begin his final run at a hot lap, and he will have it all to play for, topping practice and still at the moment last of the drivers that have set times at the moment. Staying with Mazomo through McDonald's, the car looking like it is about to jump out at him over that sequence of corners, but I mean, you see that happen in just about any car around this place, don't you?
Indeed. I'm going to call it and say that Taylor Oakes in the 313 was the last car across the line in time, but he's not at racing pace. So I don't think there's going to be too many attempts here, it seems, trying to put another one on the board. Stay with Mazomo to finish the lap off here and see if he can improve. Looks tidy there on the exit of the final corner, Reese. Shortcuts it there by staying left. Goes to a low 127, and if that was clean, it was clean indeed. Zomo to the top of the board with less than a minute left on the clock.
Nicely done. Unfortunately, Cameron Dance on his final hot lap got into the gravel, so he's not going to be able to challenge Mazomo for that. Peterson has actually just crossed the line to start another lap, and that's too late. He's not going to be able to get that one in. Matthew Deere was not able to set a time either, and as Dance pulls into the pits, well, the only real challenger, I think, is going to be Taylor Oakes. Robbie Bradbury could make it to the line. He hasn't got very long to go. Taylor sets a 128.24. And now Bradbury making his way through the last few corners here. Oh, you know what? I think he might actually get a lap in. Yeah, let's see then. 5, 4, 3, 2. He does cross the line and actually improves. Manages to go up a place and start in 5th. Well, good stuff from the drivers in that qualifying session. Now we can go through the grid for the first of our 3 races here tonight. Simon Mazomo on pole position, starting alongside Cameron Dance. Ben Peterson is going to start alongside Matthew Deere on the 2nd row. And then it's Robbie Bradbury taking P5. He is going to start alongside Peter Pavlovich on the 3rd row. Taylor Oakes is going to start in 7th alongside Anthony Green, part of the KRF team that's been a part of the scene for donkeys at this point. Dylan Shepherd, last driver to set a qualifying time, and it wasn't even a proper fast lap. Only 1 minute 36.9 despite topping practice. He'll start alongside Stead Miller. And then we got Wade Sheedy and Nicholas Timores starting on the 6th and final row of the grid. Miller, Sheedy and Timores did not set times in qualifying, so we won't get a real judge of their true race pace until this moment. But those drivers set times in the low 128s in practice, so we'll see if they're able to get up into the top 6, as it seems that's where that pace is.
Yep, it does seem to be the case indeed, as we're now just going to be waiting on the end of the grid timer. Just hearing over the radio that there actually will also be a compulsory pit stop in the 2nd race for these drivers.
Oh.
Yeah, as well. So interesting there.
Okay.
So that adds a little bit extra to the dynamic. All the drivers here in the flat 6s. So they'll be inverted and CPS to worry about. This will be one to watch out for as we get to the final couple of seconds for the gridding procedure here. And that'll be one to play with, because this is a car where 2 tyres, depending on which 2 you take, well, now that's another strategy consideration we have to start thinking about as the revs rise to get this first race of 3 for the flat 6s underway.
Green flag flies, and we are go. Unfortunately, it is not go for Robbie Bradbury. He gets swamped by the field and falls to 3rd last on the way down to turn 1. It is Mazomo who leads. Anthony Green trying to stake a claim. Peterson moving up into 2nd, putting Dance down to 3rd spot on the way out of turn 2. The leaders very close here. Peterson on an absolute charge.
All stacked up here as they round turn 3 for the first time. Careful not to overdrive the tyres. That would be disaster if that's the case. But so far, orderly at the front of the field as they wind into the triple left-hander complex. First time in racing conditions. See there, Mazomo late apex versus Peterson early apex. All in all, with cold tyres at this stage of the race, it cancels out pretty much. Mazomo a little stronger there on the exit of turn 7 and through the McDonald's chicane for the first time, it seems.
Yeah, seems to be keeping it nice and stable up at the front of the field, coming down into the last few corners now. And Peterson firing it towards the inside, but that's a bit too early of a turn, and that gives a keen advantage to the 954 up in front. The rest of the field has fallen into single file, and we haven't seen any huge incidents yet, touch wood. It's been a nice clean first lap for everybody, despite the issues for Robbie Bradbury.
Check the mark off then. Yeah. Through one lap to start. As Peterson goes in too hot at turn 1 2.
Oh, no!
Oh, he just
that backs up Mazomo a little bit. Sorry, that backs up Dance a little bit. And oh no, he's turned himself around. That's a huge shame.
Separate though.
Oaks and Bradbury.
Yeah, oh dear me.
It's a battle for who can get it on back onto the racetrack the quickest. Looked like they were driving boats there for a second. That's unfortunate for both Bradbury and Oaks. They both overshot the first turn as well.
Looks like, once again, turn 1 of Oschersleben claiming some victims. Didn't really see it in the 2-liter Tourers, mind you. It's more of a throwback to Monday night, I guess. A couple of moments there with the V8s in my V8 Super Series there. Not surprising, faster cars, no ABS, and still cold front tyres. It'll be pretty easy to get things crossed up here. So we're on board with Dylan Shepherd. Let's see here, he's trying to really work something over, and he'll go up the inside of Matthew Deere. That is something aggressive there by the 43 of Shep. He'll take the place away in the 116 there and set his sights on P2.
Yeah, man, that was certainly assertive there. I actually saw Matthew Deere lock up a little bit into the corner, but Shepherd on the biggest charge of all right now. Remember, he started in 9th. He set the fastest lap now, 128.1. We'll wait to see how much drivers can get into the 127s on race pace, but man, Shepherd already up to 3rd place. That is massive. Deere making up a good amount of time on him in the braking zone for turn 3, but evidently not quite enough to keep Shepherd in firing range. So now it is Mazomo versus Dance versus Shepherd for the presumed race victory. We'll see how much that changes in the next couple of laps.
That will be one to watch. Deere, though, hanging on, though, in P4. So I'd say don't count Matthew Deere out, despite the fact that Shepherd was super aggressive in going past him there, Reese. As long as he doesn't overdrive his car here in the next couple of laps, he can hang with, I would suspect. So they work their way down the back straight into the 11-12. This medium speed chicane here. Build the car up either way as you go through. Try and settle for the last two right-handers, I should say, sorry, there. And then fire it back down the front straight once more.
Well, away we go on to the 4th lap of 17. Zomo continues his lead here, but Dylan Shepherd now punching in those fastest laps. Check that out. But Ben Peterson immediately responding. I'd be interested to see how much Peterson will be able to get back up the field. He did lose a lot of time, but it looks like he can gain most of that back on pace alone. And if a safety car comes out, well, that might just be the ticket for Peterson.
Oh, without a doubt. Not discounting amongst this group of drivers here. Just going to, 8 seconds. Really going to probably come down to these guys here at the front. If they fight, that opens the door for drivers like Peterson to get back into this stage. That's going to be a bit of work, though. As you see, though, Shepherd really starting to get up on the gearbox of Dance. On this lap now, he's in the 3rd and has dropped Matthew Deere, relatively speaking.
Yeah, I thought for sure, looking at Shepherd, that he actually went past the curb at McDonald's, which would have netted him a slowdown, but apparently not. He is really flirting with the very limits of the track, literally and figuratively. Look at how close he's getting to Dance now. What kind of response are we going to see from Shepherd to that fastest lap from Ben Peterson? He'll obviously not be focusing too hard on Peterson behind. He'll be thinking about his fight with Dance, but And he is he's actually running pretty consistently with that 127.2 on lap 4 as well.
Might be trouble for Anthony Green at the back of the field. Meanwhile, he's dropped to the last running car here. That's the 308. I think might have just tripped himself up or been driving slowly apparently down towards the end of the final turn. I wonder if he maybe just ran a little wide. Yeah, looks like he might have run wide in the last corner there.
Yeah, Green's struggling a little bit for consistency there, but he can keep if he can keep it going, keep it on the track, then he should be able to get a good finish. There's every bit of potential that someone else is going to have a bigger incident out there. The top 3 still truly together. They are driving away from Matthew Deere at the moment, who's still in the distance there in that top 4 shot, but unless there's a big coming together, I think his chances of a podium are rapidly dwindling. Shepherd continuing to make up little bits of time on Cameron Dance coming out of every corner, and Dance, it looked like for a moment, was running deep in the final turn there. Shepherd now has a slight bit of slipstream down the start-finish straight, and Mazzomo in the lead by half a second, sets a 127.4, but a 127.1 from Dylan Shepherd.
Not one to be underestimated. And then 27.0 from Ben Peterson, just to
Oh my goodness.
prevent Shepherd from claiming a fastest lap metric. Peterson is now on the gearbox of Peter Pavlovich for P5. So looks like Ben got something to prove here tonight. Tries to get back into this race. And the driver's up front that he feels like he should be with, and based on this race definitely should be with out on track. Winding through the triple once more. Pavlovich wide, but there's not a car's width there that Peterson can work his way into. Not now, not yet at least, but he can set up for the run down the back straight maybe. Might be his best opportunity, I would suggest.
Yeah, just slows it up though through McDonald's and actually loses out slightly on the back stretch. So I think he's going to have to wait now for the run into turn 1 to set that time. Having said that, he is monstering the back of Pavlovich through this sequence. It's just keeping himself within a car's length here. It's not going to be a dive into the final turn. He is gearing up then for the run out of the last corner. And as you say, right on the gearbox of Pavlovich, who's going to maybe try and stymie the run a little bit. Is Peterson going to be far up enough for a move? Oh, he absolutely funnels it into the first corners and manages to pull it up nicely.
That is just the right amount of attack there. It seems you'll get a little sideways on exit for good measure. Don't want to do that too much, but that was just within acceptable limits, although a little deep through turn 3, possibly suggestive of driving in it, well, cooking the rears a bit there. Although Pavlovich loose on the exit of 3 will yield any attempt to apply pressure, as we better return to the top 4 of sorts, because
Shepherd's past Dance, by the way.
Just indeed.
And that was quite the move, actually. I've just gone back and seen it. Lap 6, end of the back straight. Shepherd gets the run on Dance out of McDonald's and goes for the move. Dance gives him room, and then Shepherd thinks, okay, I'm going to go around the outside here, use all of the curb and a little bit of the green concrete to get the move done for second place.
He's been nothing but ambitious tonight. That seems to be the case, especially in the final sector. But it's working to his advantage, and it's not unduly tripping up other drivers as well. So all's fair on the racetrack there, at least. So far in the race. Now, next target will be race leader Simon Zomo, who's in a little deep there at turn 1 and 2. Need to be careful not to do that too many times, because that will certainly give Shepherd some ideas, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I think Mazzomo's been keenly watching how Shepherd is making his moves. So he'll try his best to cover him off at certain locations on the track. Make sure you don't run too deep into turn 7 though, Simon, and you can gear up for the run out of McDonald's. But man, Shep is just supreme through the mid-corner, it seems. Backs off a little bit through the chicane and then gears up for the exit down the back stretch. Shepherd actually set his personal best that last lap, but it didn't count. He got an off track somewhere along the way. Would have been the fastest lap, 1:27.006. We'll see if he goes any quicker than that this time around and keeps it within track limits. For the time being, it seems he's taking his time with Mazomo.
Yeah, Zomo looking pretty steady there through the final corner, and that just allows him to not need to worry about the pressure into turns 1 and 2 this time. Just hit his marks, it seems. And get through here nice and tidy, although as we're telling now, that's not a mistake or anything. That is very much, and we saw it elsewhere on the lap, I'd say as well, Reece, that Zomo is very much opting for a late apex driving strategy here. Not looking to get the car pointed in early, really focus on getting that car straightened up late and get on the power. It hasn't worked though at turn 3. Shepherd right on his gearbox coming into the triple. Surely there's not a way through here though with these cars.
Yeah, it's hard enough to make a pass in any car coming out of the triple into turn 7, just because, you know, the car goes right across the racetrack on the racing line. It's all about keeping up your mid-corner speed through that part and then trying to gear up for this section of the circuit, the back straight. This is where Shepherd made a couple of his moves, but he's too far back from Mazomo to really get it done. Having said that, you see the difference in line there. Mazomo ran deep. Shepherd went for the tight line, and then the late apex, he almost sticks the nose out for a run at second into the second last corner, but Mazomo holds him off.
It's back and forth between these guys. Seems to be certainly a mixed bag as to who's going to be able to make it work. So far, Shepherd looks the strongest of the three here at the front of the field, but not in the right spots compared to Mazomo and Dance to be able to capitalise. See if that can be converted in due course. Again, strong off of 2 this time, dives inside of 3. Mazomo has to hang it up high, although he pinches down to make sure he drives off the corner and keep the race lead there, Reece.
Nicely done. This is a good battle between these two. They're pushing it, but it looks like they're still keeping it respectful. It is nice to see. Shepherd's not going to go for it at turn 7 this time, but maybe gives Mazomo a tiny little tap in the rear just to let him know that he's there. Not going to be a passing opportunity into McDonald's. This is a fast chicane going into a sweeping right-hander. It's all about the exit here. Actually, both of them more or less equal on the exit. Shepherd not able to gain much, but this is where Mazomo went deep last lap. Is he going to do the same this time around? No, he is going to guard the inside line there, so Shepherd cannot find a way around him.
Back and forth between these two is most certainly on here, because that's not quite the angle I was looking for. On board with Shepherd once again here in second place position. Dance is just behind, but really feels like Cam not quite got the drive to go with these two at the moment, or biding his time, because he can overwork the tyres in these cars. Certainly doesn't want to be doing that. Needs to make sure he looks after things. And 1 and 2 again. We'll see here. Mazomo tracks it out wider. Goes a little bit slower. It's a sharper apex. This can make him a little vulnerable. Oh, it will make him vulnerable. Shepherd again.
Oh, Mazomo gives him just enough room, but they come together on the exit, and Mazomo is forced wide. That gives up an opportunity to Cameron Dance. Oh, I thought for sure one of them was going to spin from that, but again, seems like the latency gods are smiling down upon us tonight. So Mazomo now back to second place. Now, was that an all right move by Shepherd is the question. From what I hear, Mazomo hasn't said anything to race control, has he?
I've not heard anything either, so...
Right. So Mazomo, I think, reckons it's all fair and good.
Oh, look at that one. See if we can get a different angle from up above, perhaps, here. Might tell an interesting story Let's look at it here from the top down on this replay. So late on the brakes and just gets it pulled up enough. I think that is just the saving grace there, although he does try and turn out of the corner. And that's what allows him to finish the job, because Mazomo, in return, trying to pinch him down there, Reese, not able to force the issue all the way through corner exit once Shepard gets the nose ahead on the inside.
Oh, man. Well, then, that's the state of your top three at the moment. Thanks to that little rattling that Mazomo got from Shepard, Dance is now on the attack, and we can't forget about Matthew Deere. He's still lurking there in the background of this battle. Shepard isn't quite skipping away from these two like I thought he would now that he's in clear air. So every chance that this could be a proper top four battle by the end.
Certainly wouldn't rule things out. Yeah, Matthew Deere's just been hanging roughly with these guys, but doesn't quite have the ultimate pace, it seems, but is then given the opening in to be able to still be a player in all of this. The top three squabble away. And Peterson, unfortunately, his momentum seems to have stalled a little bit. I think I saw a slowdown for him at one point as well, which would have hurt his chances at really continuing to march forwards. And now that Shepard's in the lead, maybe that will be what's needed to sort of open up the top three in due course. We do have a scrap here between Taylor Oakes and Robbie Bradbury. This is for position number 7 on the road. These two drivers both went off at turn 1 on lap 2, I believe it was.
Yeah.
But thankfully no damage, just a bit of lost time for them at that stage.
They're looking pretty good on lap times as well. They're more or less equal in terms of pace. They have been trading laps, of course, but it doesn't look like they've been more than a tenth or so apart. So it's been very intense in this battle for 7th spot. Actually, both went about 0.5 of a second slower than they did on the previous lap, though I didn't see much to suggest there was an incident for either of them. It just seems like Taylor Oakes is catching up to Robbie Bradbury. Certainly did on the lap previous to the previous one. So now, someone's
Pavlovich
off in front of them. Oh no, Peter Pavlovich looks like on his own there, just locking up coming into turn 7. The weight transfer left to right coming out of the triple into turn 7. I think getting the better of him there.
Unfortunately, that would seem to be the case. If I can have a look at that one real quick just to see exactly when it got away from him. Oh, Bradbury ahead!
Oh no, that's a shame. That's
ends the now battle for 6th, unfortunately.
Yeah, too late on the brakes. It looks like he locked up on the way into the right-hander and just went straight across the grass, but it was close for Taylor Oakes. This is what happened to Pavlovich, just locked up on the way in. So Bradbury and Oakes move on by, but then if we go to Bradbury and Oakes, there we go. Look at this.
And hop. Oh,
oh, that was close.
I almost want to go. Actually, we'll do that later. Yeah.
Mazomo's back in the lead.
Stay on the replay. Here's how it happened.
Uh-oh.
Is he... Okay, so on the exit of turn 3 here, this is an unusual spot to get the lead back. Shepard going to run wide. He's going to dip his wheels in the grass and just kill his run.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah, just lawn mowing his way up to turn 4 there.
Yeah, righto. Mazomo back in the lead, but for how long? Because we know how much of a tenacious racer Shepard is and the aggressiveness with which he's made up his positions so far. They're only going to have 3 laps to go when they cross the line next, and Cameron Dance will be licking his lips here. He could smell a win if there's a coming together for the 2 ahead.
Really feels like this is definitely a case of Dance playing it slow, playing it steady, and opting not to go crazy. And yeah, let these two do all the hard fighting. He can potentially pick up the spoils, although with only 3 laps to go, they're going to have to really get to it and get creative here, because they've been just on the right side of hard and fair so far. As again, Mazomo wide on the exit of turn 2, trying to get that Avex as he tries to cover off the inside line, but there's the contact.
No, and Dance through to the lead. Well, was one of Shepard's favourite places to go for a dive, and I don't think Mazomo's going to be too happy with him for that. That's the second time that Shepard's gone for the dive at that corner, and this time it's really resulted in a disadvantage for Mazomo.
Went to the middle of the road to cover it off. Was barely a car's width there for Shepard to work his way into. He still went for it though, so see if that's considered acceptable. There's race control looking at it currently, so we'll see if there's something in it, because Mazomo has dropped a little bit here on this lap. Whether that's something to do with momentum shaken or actually a bit more of a hit there in the left rear that's damaged the car a bit. Potentially could fracture this group of 4 into 2 pairs as we get 2 laps to go this time across the start-finish line race.
All right, 2 laps left in the race, and yeah, this that little exchange has definitely brought Matthew Deere right back into it. But now, Shepard could potentially have a go at Cameron Dance if he can get close enough. But has Shepard picked up any damage from that contact with Mazomo? Has it affected him any? Dance, again, using that middle of the road line in the entry to middle of the corner and then late apexing the exit. It looks like he actually has this sorted, and race control already pointing out, well, yes, we did see that incident between Shepard and Mazomo. We're going to have a look at it. So question is whether or not there's going to be a decision on that before the checkered flag flies. They don't have much time to do it.
No, it'll be pretty close. See here on board, looking forwards from the rear wing of Shepard. Just you also see the steering wheel just inside the cockpit. You also just get an idea of just again how much he's working the wheel still. Yeah, going to get a lot of steering angle to try and get the car to rotate at the front end. Get the nose where he wants it. Just wonder if maybe just not looking all that great. Well, even with Dance, you can see like Mazomo, he's opting to really try and run it wide and get the car to rotate in late. He will take the white flag first here at the end, towards the end of race 1. 1 circuit left of Oschersleben, but this is only race 1 of 3 for the flat sixes here tonight.
And behind this camera angle, Mazomo has lost further time and is actually under attack by Deere. So could Matthew Deere get onto the podium for race 1 of flat sixes here? Big question on everyone's minds at the moment. Who's going to win? What's race control's decision going to be on Shepard versus Mazomo? Can Deere get into 3rd spot? A lot of stories to come to the conclusion at the end of this 17 laps. Just a bit to go, and Shepard goes deep, runs wide at turn 7. He manages to gather it up, but that's valuable time lost to Cameron Dance, and I don't think he's going to be able to challenge for victory from here.
That really does feel like that's a case of putting the win now as Dance's to lose. In fact, he moves over on the straightaway, and he's going to give P2 back to Mazomo to clear the air on that one. So that should result in no further action. He's given himself about 3 corners left to have one final crack at it. Mazomo, see if he's wary of the bomb in the final turn. Shepard, though, not going to make such a move. What it does mean, though, is Cameron Dance will be the one to take the checkered flag in race 1. Nice and tidy check mark for him there. Top 4
Lovely
across the line,
stuff.
just like that.
Yeah, fantastic. And Ben Peterson recovering to P5 with a really excellent run, apart from, of course, his big off in turns 1 and 2. Taylor Oakes wins the battle with Robbie Bradbury, meanwhile, though Bradbury was pressuring him massively, and Pavlovich across the line to finish in 8th. Anthony Green as well will make it to the finish. So every car that started the race will take the checkered flag. We have yet to see much of Stead Miller, Wade Sheedy, or Nick Tamores, and I somehow doubt that we'll see them here tonight. But we move straight on into our second race with a full field invert. And this is going to be quite interesting, Dan, because thanks to race control on the safety car not taken to the grid, and Tamores, Sheedy, and Miller not being present, we are actually going to get Anthony Green on pole position from the 6th grid slot.
It's a long way back, that's for sure. We'll throw it up on the screen real quick. If it plays nicely with me here. It will not. Okay, apologies for that. That's usually a bit more nicely behaved in many respects. But all right, let's throw things up on screen for you here as we're now getting ready for the racing action to begin. It will be underway again, indeed. Yeah, all the way back towards position 6, as you say. And any second now, we'll get the action underway. It is, unfortunately, one of the downsides to the inverted grid and such, but you make do with what you got as the lights have gone on. The revs have risen and we're underway. Slow start for Bradbury there out of what is effectively P3. But it's Pavlich who's off best, and yet trouble. Oh, collection!
Oh no, Anthony Green sent into the wall by Shepard as he swerved to avoid cars going slower ahead of him, presumably. And I think race control will already be looking at that as the lead at the moment. Oh, that was a spin there almost for Cameron Dance. He has lost valuable time. At the moment, it is Ben Peterson in the lead of the race, and by quite a ways here. Shepard getting up to 3rd spot, getting past Bradbury. Peter Pavlovich holding on to 2nd. Mazomo also trying to work his way through the field. He has dispatched Oaks and Deere.
Oh, this has been a messy start to this one here. Pace discrepancies perhaps on display a little bit. The field works their way out of turn 7 on lap 1 at least. Peterson though has margin, and we did see him bang put multiple fastest laps on the board consecutively in that opening race. He now gets to be the one to dictate the pace right from the get-go here. As Mazomo up the inside in the background on Bradbury. He's actually going to force the issue on there. So as Matthew Deere's gone loose through the 11-12 chicane, although he calls that one, so contact perhaps with Cameron Dance there.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to go back and check that. Multiple things to go back and check in these opening laps. A chaotic start to the second race here at Oschersleben for the flat sixes. And actually, it wasn't contact with Dance for Deere. It was contact with Oaks. And I don't know if a penalty is justified for it.
Right, well, let's perhaps rewind on a couple of the... We'll wait a second because...
Yeah.
And Shepard trying to get past Peter Pavlich. He goes inside of turn 3. I might have to chalk that one up as Shep's signature move here at Oschersleben. Gets that one pulled up nice and tidy and neat. Now has 2 seconds to go chase down to Ben Peterson. Work their way up through the triple for the second time. With that said and done, everyone else is packed up still for the most part, but mostly neat and tidy. Deere past Anthony Green into 8th place now for the 116.
Right then.
Go back and look at the start of the race, perhaps, maybe. I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah, so let's keep an eye on Shepard, I think, in particular, because he was the one who did the most coming off this start, and head-on view as well, I think would be ideal. But making their way off the line, Shepard was trying desperately to pick his way through the pack, but he just couldn't find a way through, and ended up making contact with a few cars on his way to making contact with Anthony Green, and unfortunately putting Green into the pit wall.
Yeah, that's not a great look there, just almost bouncing off other cars. And maybe go back one last time from the rear wing here so we catch this. So, good start. Deere, so moves, collects Deere, then gets into the back of 35 of Bradbury, and then just almost completely misses the fact that Green was there on the inside of Bradbury at the start of that one there. Cameron Dance then in behind, so he comes in. Oh, he just tags Matthew Deere, so that's what gets him out of shape there. And then Matthew Deere, we go have a look at him real quick. Apologies. It's jumped a couple of times on me there. And this is actually apparently something that's... That might have gotten a bit confused there whilst I clicked on it a couple of times. So we'll leave that at that and head back to the live pitches. And apologies if I'm being heard or not. Possible technical issue here. As a... Sorry about this one here, folks. Hopefully I'm still audible. Might have had an issue with Discord having a moment. And try and get things back up and running for you with Reese as well. So, just myself at the moment, it seems. Compulsory pit stops starting, meanwhile. Okay, interesting. Alright. Keep the pictures going. I might shut up for a second and try and resolve some issues here on the background whilst the pictures roll.
All right, well, we do apologize for that slight technical glitch, but we do have everything back up and running here on SimSpeed TV. Ben Peterson has absolutely ruined his run through turns 1 and 2. And it looks like he's lost the lead versus Dylan Shepherd. Reese Gardner and Dan Yeaman with you, as per usual. But yeah, this is what happened to Ben Peterson, Dan. That is a big mistake that he might not be able to come back from.
And just like race 1, race 6, even worse than race 1, because he's flown all the way out into the weeds here on the exit of turn 1. Gets very lucky that he pulls that up by the skin of his teeth before hitting the tyre bundles, it seems.
Runoff area was just the right size.
I think that would be an apt description of things. It does now put Dylan Shepherd out in the lead of the race. Does owe us a pit stop as per the numbers next to the gap to leader. That's when everyone's come to the pit sale. Well, there you go. Speak of it. Dylan Shepherd will head for the lane to resolve himself of that obligation for us here. Through the entry sequence, he will come down to the pit speed limit here at Oschersleben, which is fairly leisurely 60 kilometers an hour. Peter Pavlovich, in the meantime, will, for a couple of laps at least, assume the race lead. Peterson just behind, out of seat. Simon Zomo ends up relative to Shepherd. He's already getting ready to go. And Shepherd's going to come out comfortably in the effective race lead here by the looks of things. Yep.
Yeah, looks to be the case. Mazomo only just coming across the line then, and well, Shepherd should emerge up ahead of him here as they come barreling into turn 1 just behind. There we go. That's the gap. Well, top 3 still Shepherd, Mazomo, and Dance effectively. Order slightly reversed from the previous race. Robbie Bradbury, meanwhile, passing Taylor Oakes, who's had a bit of an issue at the first turn. It seems that Oakes has done more or less the same thing Bradbury did, but at a slightly lower speed. That's the thing with this first corner here at Oschersleben. It is an entertaining corner, but it's so hard to get right as a driver. You have to be braking and turning at the same time. You get the balance even slightly wrong, then you're just going to go straight on.
Yeah, and you just see the realization happens really late in the corner that, oh, I'm not going to make it, am I? And just trying to get it pulled up, but trying at the same time to not lock it up. Unfortunately for Taylor Oakes, cost himself a good 10 odd seconds or so. Just that little bit off the racetrack in the grass there. So just 2 drivers left to pit in this race, in Pavlovich and Peterson. This here, though, will be the effective race leaders. Oh, Shepherd there, going to explore the grass on the exit of turn 14 that time by.
Yeah, that's... yeah, I mean, Shepherd has been... He's made mistakes, but they've not been very consequential ones, all things considered. Peterson, on the other hand, when he's made mistakes, they've been quite spectacular and have put him a long way back. So... that's the story of 2 drivers here in the flat sixes. Could still be on for second as well between Mazomo and Dance. We still are owed pit stops from Pavlovich and Peterson. But into the last couple of corners they both come. Pavlovich a bit slow. He's going to peel off into the pits, and Peterson is going to follow him straight in.
We're here to see here. What's Peterson's confidence on pit entry like relative to Pavlovich's here? Because that's the wrong. Oh my goodness! Peter Pavlovich is angled right towards the pit wall there. That's certainly looking a little dicey for the moment, but there we go. They will get their compulsory stop here in race 2 done. And will indeed hand the lead of this race to Dylan Shepherd, who's pulled actually a nice little margin. Just pardon me, I still got the margin to Mazomo and Dance. Just that Cam Dance right now on the gearbox of Mr. Mazomo, as they will follow on by drivers
Peterson
in the
with
pits.
a much quicker stop than Pavlovich, who is still stationary.
Yeah, that's because he has a black flag to his name, unfortunately. I think.
Too fast on entry.
There you go. Well, that unfortunately will seal the deal.
Peterson comes out right with the battle between Bradbury and Deere. He goes right in the middle of the both of them, and will be trying to work his way back to sixth place from here. Sorry, make that fourth. My apologies. Timing screen shenanigans.
Two trios now to keep our eyes on here, it seems, in the second half of this second race of 3. Top, see if Mazomo and Dance have anything for Shepherd out front. Whether Ben Peterson can finally shake the monkey off his back. Here's though going to come under threat from Matthew Deere at turn 11 here. Inside for the 116. Should have that one nicely wrapped up because, let's see here, Peterson looking around at the back bumper of Matthew, but nice though. We'll
until we get to the last corner. Parks it on the apex. Deere can't come back at him. Tries a bit of over-under, but Peterson with slightly more pace there. So Peterson, I think, was just waiting for his tyres to come up to temperature, the ones that he switched on to. Deere, meanwhile, had already spent a couple of laps, or 6 laps really, out of the pits there. This is the exit, I think, for Pavlovich.
See, is it just slow enough that it... Yeah, once again, that's actually the false alarm one there, where it's just the tiniest bit slow enough that it triggers my someone's crashed alert in the event feed, as it were. So yeah, no big issues there. But this fighting between these two, well, Bradbury's now got a couple of laps to mind his business, so he might be better served by checking back in with our top 3 here.
Now, all still in the same frame, but Shepherd is smashing out those fast times there. Mazomo actually probably running a little faster on the last lap, but Shepherd is still the one who holds the fastest lap of the entire race, 126.79. Dance has been able to get close to that, 126.9, and Ben Peterson also in the same bracket too, but again, for Peterson, it is the question of consistency and being able to minimize those big errors. Well then, into the first turn, seems like Dance and Mazomo have it all covered, as does Shepherd. For the time being, they're really well matched, this top 3. Mazomo set a 127 flat. Cameron Dance not that far behind, so it's still on. They're only going to have 5 laps remaining when they cross the line next, though, so one of them is going to have to try something different to change the face of that.
Yes, but yeah, 2/10 gain on Shepherd. They do that a couple more times, they will be properly back on his gearbox, and that'll give him 2, maybe 3 laps to attack and try and find something. So, maybe one to watch here is, that's a little aggressive from Dance. Too aggressive? Yes. So that was a slowdown that time there, as he bounced back across the little upright. So see here as he comes to the end of the straight, on the clutch, roll it in, loses the straight line speed, and then he's going to make sure he slowed it up enough on the way in. I think he's still going to clear it. Reese just watching, waiting, and yeah, not gone yet, because every corner he goes through at remotely close to speed is time gained, not more penalty time he has to serve, and it's still not gone. Only there on the exit of the final turn.
Goodness. Well, that is valuable time lost there for Dance, and unless there's a mistake for Mazomo, I don't think he's going to be chasing down second anytime soon. Meanwhile, speaking of chasing, Ben Peterson trying to get back past Matthew Deere. He's got the slipstream down the start-finish straight. This is the battle for 5th, and Peterson moves through. Deere lets him go on the inside of turn 1, and Ben manages to pull it up for turn 2. So that's that battle concluded for the time being.
Check the boxes on that one there, and on our merry way, as it were. So Peterson finally looks to have also then pulling 7/10 in a couple of corners. just finally be able to break free. Let's go chase after Robbie Bradbury once more. Get back to P4. And then settle in and then get ready for race 3. I think will really be what his mission will be. Because unfortunately it's now 2 races where issues at turn 1 have taken that result away from him. So looking to hopefully not make it 3 in a row for that kind of metric there at least. And this is about it, unfortunately, on track at the moment, apart from the top 3, which actually, towards the back half of this final lap, okay, it got as low as 1.1 seconds. It's then sprung back up to 1.3 as they came across the line there.
Simon Mazzomo is still a little faster than Dylan Shepherd that lap, but not by much. I think Shepherd's just managing the gap for now. He isn't going all out like he did in race 1 and the first part of race 2.
Hello there, Ben Peterson. 126.65.
Oh.
For the last lap there, and fastest lap, therefore, of the session.
Fastest lap we've seen all night.
It's certainly trying to put a mark down. Again, just speaks to the fact that he could be up here with Shepherd, Mazzomo, and Dance. Just the little moments which have such a big impact for him at turn 1, because the runoff is so much runoff there to allow cars to slow down before they find a fence. That it's so costly to not get it right there, because when he gets it right, he's up there as this race now, the fastest driver over 1 lap in race run.
Yeah, it's just every time I see those times from Ben, I think the same. Like if he'd managed to keep it on the track at turns 1 and 2, we could be looking at a very different race right now. But there's still another chance for that to happen. We do have another race coming up shortly after this one. So let's hope that Peterson will be able to bring the fight to Shepherd, Mazzomo, and Dance at the front of the field. I have to give a shout out at the moment to Robbie Bradbury, who's still running very strongly in 4th. He is getting chased down by Peterson, but fact is, he ended up losing 2 spots in race 1, 5th to 7th, and that brought him, it brought him around the same place at the start of race 2. Now he's up in 4th and has just continued to keep it consistent all the way through. It's been good to see.
Yeah, effectively 3rd place start in the race. In fact, my overlays seem to be able to compute the fact that they basically started, because with Miller, Sheedy, Tamores not on the grid, despite being assigned grid spots, they got shuffled down the order. But it's a good turnaround for Bradbury. Certainly. He doesn't have the pace of our top 3, and Peterson can hook things up here to finish the race off. This place might be under threat, but still, Peterson's got to find one and a bit seconds to make the move. As trouble for Taylor Oates, it seems, on the other side of the circuit, unfortunately. Oh, a lot of trouble for the Taylor Oates.
Oh, that's heavy suspension damage. Look at that front left. It's making the car bounce. The steering linkage, everything associated with that front left is completely shot right now, and no surprise that he'll likely be asking for a tow from race control. That doesn't look like a particularly safe section of the circuit as well, so maybe we'll see a safety car, but probably not, considering we only have 1.5 laps to go.
Yeah, I'm sure which he positions. There you go, turn 13. That's eventually come to rest on the outside of the penultimate corner. As you can see, pit entry at the bottom. I was trying to actually picture where that was from the other camera angle. I had that there. Sort of gives you a better perspective of it. So here come the leaders. As they come through corners previous. They'll find Taylor there, unfortunately, facing them on the track, outside the track. We get through there okay. So, white flag going to be in the air for Dylan Shepherd. Perhaps let's rewind here and see how unfortunate this played out for Taylor Oaks.
Yeah, coming through
Apologies.
right, left. It was the right left off the end of the back straight. He just got a little oversteer on and then tried to recover it, but heavy contact with the tyre bundles effectively ripped off the front left.
Yeah, I thought maybe it would be able to queue up him, but now she's just gone for the very obvious one that says he crashed. It actually picked him up at the right one. So he's been cleared to tow back to the lane. So unfortunately, that will be his race done a lap early. It also means the racing can continue out here on the circuit. Shepherd should be okay there. 1.2 second margin. It's whether Peterson here can snatch P4 back from Bradbury here. Inside of 7/10 now, Reese, but only got a couple of good opportunities left on this lap, and they're coming up quick.
Yeah, that they are. Through McDonald's. And now Peterson has to get the slipstream, has to get a good run through these last few corners to get it done. But up the front, negotiating the final corner, is Dylan Shepherd. And he will come across the line to win the second race here. Mazomo and Dance complete the podium, but still on between Bradbury and Peterson. Peterson tries to make up in the braking zone, but he's just not close enough.
Indeed. Survival and consistency pays off. Bradbury will hold on to P4 finish, and Matthew Deere in the background. Last of that group there in P6. It's then a bit of a wait for Peter Pavlovich in the 216. He'll be the final car to finish on the lead lap there in the 216 Pacific Esports Racing entry. Anthony Green just in behind will round out the field in that one as well. And then once they're done, we'll be able to proceed directly to the final race of the night, which will be aggressive grid here from race 2. The 17 laps to round things out here at Oschersleben tonight, Reese.
Yes, indeed. Well, to the line they all come. And that's going to conclude the action here with Dylan Shepherd taking victory by 1.3 seconds over Cameron Dance, Bradbury, and Simon Mazomo, sorry. Bradbury and Peterson round out the top 5, then Deere, Pavlovich, Green, and Oaks coming to the end there. Oaks, our sole retirement from that. Green did take to the finish, but a lap down. So now we have a minute's warm-up, and well, we have mere moments until this third and final race, Dan. No compulsory pit stop this time around, so it's going to be an out-and-out sprint. I'm so curious about what Robbie Bradbury can do starting from 4th.
Yeah, this will be one to watch. I would think he drops back in. He should drop back into 5th on pace alone, but clearly that's not the way things work here, and that's something that clearly is not the be-all and end-all here for many of our drivers. At top 3, they've been fairly solid, but yeah, that 4th place spot apparently is completely up for grabs as that little warm-up period will end, and I'll flash up the grid for you all here in a second once we get ready to go racing for our third and final time here tonight with the Flat Sixes.
Yep, Dylan Shepherd is going to start on pole for this, and Mazomo will join him on the front row. Cameron Dance is going to start in 3rd place alongside Robbie Bradbury. That's his highest starting position of the night. Ben Peterson will start alongside Matthew Deere behind. It'll be interesting to see what both of these guys can do. They've both suffered issues in race 2. And then Peter Pavlovich will start alongside Anthony Green in 7th and 8th. Taylor Oaks will take the 9th and so far final grid slot here. So gearing up now for this final race start. Shepherd's back up the front, and if he nails the start, he's going to have a nice clear run to turn 1. Again, though, Mazomo and Dance have pressured him a lot. we go then. Timer counts down to 0, and we get ready for the power to be put down. And off we go. Once again, problems for Bradbury off the line, but it was well avoided by Matthew Deere. Simon Mazzomo bogs down too. He's lost positions. Matthew Deere will get past him, as will Peter Pavlovich. And look at Deere. He is right on the back of Dance now. And Ben Peterson actually getting one of the best starts of them all. He's up into second behind Shepherd.
Yeah, right there indeed as we head to turn 3 for the first time in race 3. Peterson looks switched on, the best of everyone here in lap 1, so not just quick once the car's in rhythm, quick right out of the gate here as you top 2, they actually start streaking away a little bit from Cam Dance in terms of putting a little bit of buffer on. He's into turn 7 for the first time. You can hear first gear used there by Peterson to get it pulled up on engine braking and rotated. Shepherd a little deep in, but able to cover things off and then get a straighter exit and slightly earlier power down. So it evens out by the time they come through the McDonald's chicane here and onto this back straight for the first time in this race.
Okay, so Peterson up the front properly for the first time tonight. He's got plenty of potential to nab the final win of the night here. Still on the back of Shepherd as they make their way into the final couple of corners. A slightly better exit from Shepherd, though. Oh, no. That's a big spin there. And is that damage? Is that coming together with another car? It is not. Mazzomo, unfortunately, did that all on his own.
Just as they came around the final corner, he's just pushing as hard as he can. And unfortunately, he goes and finds the gravel out past the curb. And it's enough to unload the car from the rear where the power's going down. And rush the tyre was there. So he'll now be looking for a chance to get back into things. But no safety cars yet here in the flat sixes. So going to be hoping for something out of the ordinary it's been so far tonight.
Yeah. We haven't seen a single safety car tonight in either of our categories. On board with Matthew Deere. He's fighting with Cameron Dance for third now. Was another one of the drivers to get a pretty lightning start. Not as much as Peterson's lunge up from 5th to 2nd. However, now that we get into the rhythm of the race, tyres now coming up to temperature, Deere could start getting further up to the back of Dance. We've seen that Deere has some excellent pace here. Unfortunately, he's fallen victim to a couple of mistakes tonight as well. There's Dylan Shepherd with a 127.1 already. Peterson diving into turns 1 and 2 and almost for the third time tonight.
Was around though.
And for the third time tonight, it's problems at turn 1 and 2 for Ben Peterson.
And he's going to park it up maybe here. As he moves
coming to
a very slow stop. Yeah, this is all the hallmarks of choosing to unfortunately pull the pin on that one there. The other one, Mazzomo had a moment too. Oh, hardware failure. He's lost visuals from his.
Oh no!
His virtual reality headset has blacked out on him reportedly.
Oh, Peterson. Oh, that's so frustrating for a driver of his caliber to be taken out of a race by a visuals failure. It wasn't due to anything wrong with his driving or anything like that. But yeah, that's confirmed it. Peterson has left the server. He is out of the final race of the flat sixes here. That leaves Dylan Shepherd with a 3.3 second lead over Cameron Dance and Matthew Deere.
Except for the fact that again, that could have been a tow request, maybe. Unfortunately, it was not to be. Which means that for Simon Mazzomo, who I think by the looks of things, yep, he had a moment at turn 2 just as we were tracking Peterson. Means he's now even further out in the wilderness in 8th place. And yet Mazoma actually just asking about that one there as to whether there would be a safety car, but unfortunately, I think Peterson might have jumped the gun there on departing the server.
Too late now.
Indeed. What can we do about it? Nothing really. The show must go on.
And go on it does. With Shep still trying to jet away at the front, and it's a battle between the teammates here of Pavlovich and Bradbury, formerly of Century Motorsports, now for Pacific Esports Racing in some brand new and very bright liveries. 4th and 5th at the moment for these two. It's looking pretty good at the moment. If they can keep it together, that's going to be a lovely, consistent finish for the team right at the end.
Yep, they might not have outright pace, but they've not had moments, they've not had problems around the track. And that's certainly valuable for therefore meaning they're racking up the results as they go along. So it's one part of it. Again, the whole to finish first you have to finish. Whilst this is minor placings, relatively speaking, it applies all the same.
Looks like Bradbury is the one with the pace at the moment, and Pavlovich, he's managed to hold on nicely to the position so far, but and it does seem like in certain areas of the circuit he is quicker, but under brakes. Yeah, Deere has gotten past Dance and into second spot. Looks to me like that was a move at turn 3. And I tell you what, it's been a popular spot for attempted overtakes. The late dive at the 3rd corner. Look at this. Deere is going to switch to the inside here when Dance gets on the brakes and just shoves his way up the inside there. Dance immediately saw him coming and gave him the room. He didn't want any part of that.
Nope, he did not. And able to turn out of it, thankfully, to avoid contact. So they carry on as they were. Or they carry on, sorry, I should say, with the places switched. No damage to either car. So that was right on the limit, it seems, of getting that one pulled up for Matthew Diggers. He was in a little hot there, relatively speaking, but no damage, and Dance there ready to potentially have another crack at him. So we've got these two for second, I should say. The Pacific Esports duo, I think, are happy to run tandem, and in fact, it looks like they're going to. No, Bradbury just inside, or is the place going to be exchanged here? Nice and easy on the way into turn 1. Pavlovich, I think, deciding that maybe best to let Robbie go first, it seems. And exchange once again.
Dance back by. Yeah, I'm wondering if that was a redress by Deere. It actually looked like it. He was, oh no, he had a slide on the exit of turn 2, and that lost him momentum, so Dance immediately went back by him. So now it's a question of who can keep the consistency up at the end of a very long night here in the V8SCOPS supports.
Yeah, it looks like, well, thankfully none of the drivers here tonight pulling double duty, which would have certainly been one heck of it. Oh dear! In both cases of the sentence, just avoids running that one completely off the road, but couldn't get much more squirrely there than that one.
Now exit of turn 7. He looked nice and stable, but coming here out of the chicane. Oh, wow, that was a huge curb hit. I don't think I've seen that happen before. I mean, big sausage curb, but the way everyone else has been hitting it tonight, it's looked okay. I didn't realize it was that extreme.
We've seen some big hits get you slowdowns on the other side of the chicane as you fly through it, but yeah, that is the first time we've seen someone hit it hard enough to then launch themselves practically almost off the road. Deere hangs on just, but now pressure released from Dance, although 6 seconds up the road from Dance to Dylan Shepherd, who looks to be under no... well, he's got no reason to slow down, it seems. He's most certainly pressing on. But when he's been working his laps, I haven't really seen any chinks in his armour tonight. He's just been pushing forward when he's not been up the front, and then once he gets up the front, locking that one down on pace.
Yeah. Dylan, I think for the first time tonight, hasn't been fighting directly with others for some time, and he's just been able to focus on his own lines and his own braking points and build the gap, maintain it. At the moment, he's looking like there isn't much to excuse me, not much to throttle him at this stage. Fluster, that's the word I was looking for. It has been a long night, hasn't it, Dan?
Yeah, we're approaching 3 hours on the clock for you and I, and we get to do it again tomorrow night, and then to round it out, or wrap it all up, do it Sunday, and call it a trifecta of broadcasts, all at Oschersleben, all for V8SCOPS and the SCOPS support.
Sunday's going to be 4 hours.
Yep, it's yeah. And actually tomorrow night will be probably possibly close on 4 hours too. It's I mean, yeah, the first time, well, for this year, it's the V8's 2014 specification cars getting their endurance event, playing on the fact that this track's hosted in what's called the Berda region of Germany. The Berda 161 will be on tomorrow night. We'll talk about that briefly once we wrap things up here. That's what we go next. That could be easily 4 hours of racing, and then yes, as you say, another 4 odd hours come Sunday evening, as we'll have Super Split 2 and Split 1 action. Yeah, but back to the present moment, Reese, because Simon Zomo trying to recover a couple of spots. We'll get one here off Anthony Green at the end of the back straight.
That's back up into 7th place for Simon Mazzomo after a bit of a torrid start to this third and final race of the night. What's the gap like to Pavlovich ahead? Well, he's not even in the frame, so I think Mazzomo's going to have to wait a bit.
Yeah, 9.2 to Taylor Oakes.
Ah, yes.
And then a further 3.6 from Oakes up to Pavlovich. So you can see, as you said there, they're already around turn 2 by the time we get the chance to see turn 1, whilst Zomo heads down the front straightaway. But the way he's going, chance possibly that he gets up to Oakes just in time to challenge for P6, I would suggest. But it's going to require Zomo's best laps pretty much every lap, I think, to really have a chance.
Yeah, and Mazzomo not only is at the end of a long night of driving, he's also carrying a little bit of damage to his car from his incident earlier. So I don't think he'll be able to quite reach that potential as things stand. But willing to be proven wrong. It would be very nice. We'll check back in with Taylor Oakes trying to chase down people as it's on for the lead. It's on for the lead. Cameron Dance right on the back of Dylan Shepherd. I think Shep got a slowdown.
Always had something a little bit more than that. We'll stay with this for a second and see what happens, because it also, Matthew Deer's still there in the picture. And now, hey, the Pacific Esports duo back there. They're now only 5-6 seconds off the lead of this race. If something happens that majorly affects all three of our leaders, they're there for the pickings. All right, this might have settled in a little bit, but new win for Cam Dance, perhaps, and certainly it looks like he wants to really wind things up. But this is what happened to Dylan Shepherd last time on the last lap. Actually, just the coming up to the triple on current lap. This is what happened just a whole lap prior.
Yeah, for sure. A little bit of
long on the replay load up. So actually,
that's okay.
Might be at McDonald's, I'm going to suggest.
Yeah, it's at McDonald's. It absolutely is. You'll be able to see it here. He actually clobbers the same curb that we saw, I think, Taylor Oakes hit earlier.
Matthew Deer did it. Yeah, and this time, though.
Matthew Deer, sorry.
Yeah, that time, though.
Yeah.
Finds the wall. There's the glorious trip of back to racetrack in Cam Dance. Thanks his lucky stars that he's now got a shot at this. Indeed, he is certainly looking to turn the screws for this race lead now. You head back to your live pictures on the end of lap 10.
Yeah, Shepherd now with damage from collecting that tyre bundle. And Cameron Dance rapidly trying to chase him down. We go on to lap 11. There's 8 laps remaining in this race. 7, sorry. I'm starting to lose it over here, Dan. And now we find our way through to turns 2 and 3. How much pace does Dylan Shepherd have remaining in that car? I have no idea. It's going to be tough for him to hold on here with Dance so far escaping damage, and plenty more driving to come through the triple down into turn 7. Down they go. Shepherd just running deep there to protect it from Dance. I'm not sure how much is left in that car. That number 43 certainly past its best.
Yeah, on the entry to the triple there, Dance pushed in a little deeper and was still able to keep with him despite running in faster. The main thing might just be now it's a case of how aggressive is Shepherd willing to be with the curbs. I mean, look, there they go. Pops over the curb there at turn 12 to potentially sort of counter the point I was making. Maybe it's now a place where Shepherd thinks more carefully about his curb usage. It's only really the one there at McDonald's, the little chicane there, that sort of trips people up. But it's going to be one to watch here to see if things change. 6 to go this time across the line at the start of the lap. 3.5 tenths not even in it between our top 2. They've sort of dropped Matthew Deere once again, it seems, as well. So it is going to be a 2-horse race. Looking back here at Dance from your race leader, I'd say, Reese, that Shepherd, for the most part, looks to have decent speed, and Dance really trying to work corner entries here to his benefit. And he's sacrificing a bit of corner exit. That's going to definitely be a bit of sacrifice there in the exit of the triple. Apologies, folks. It looks like there's some more issues with Discord again tonight. So what I might need to do here is, I'll keep talking for a bit, since it looks like everything on the rest of the stream is still behaving. So, boy, yeah, it's close there at the end of the backstroke. But again, sacrificing his run out of the corner. Try a bit of emergency resuscitation on what's happening here with Discord. So what I might do is I'll keep talking a little bit. I'll drop you guys completely on this one, but try and get this fixed up so we get Reese back into, on my end at least, Reese can be back in to be able to be here for the end of this one. So keep the action going here, and I'll be back with you in just a moment, folks. Apologies once again, it seems.
So it is getting spicy here at Oschersleben. We do apologise once again for the slight technical issues that we've been experiencing. seems that some Discord server farm issues have been going on here, so comms and production feed haven't quite been coming through properly, but Dance is right on the back of Dylan Shepherd now. But it seems to be a deadlock between these two, Dan. It's certainly looking like it's going to be a battle right down to the line.
Yeah, as much as there's sort of moments where Cam looks stronger than Dylan, it really doesn't. It's a case of, for me, what I'm seeing and what I'm able to, in the midst of all this, where it seems to be is that Cam's able to be more aggressive on corner entry, but he's sacrificing his corner exits in doing so. You see here, it's in a little tight. Well, that's a little more tighter entry to the corner, and that seems to hurt him there. A little tighter there through turn 13. She runs it a little. Oh, Shepherd wide contact.
Whoa! All right. That's big. Didn't result in a huge off for either of them, but man, Shepherd having to get on the brakes early because there wasn't as much grip out there on the gravel. Surprisingly, who would have thunk that gravel has less grip than tarmac? But Cameron Dance, it looks like he thought about going for the move, but he just wasn't able to clear Shepherd in time. Goodness me, that was intense. They remain in the same spots on live pictures, but it almost ended in disaster here, Dan.
Sitting at a different angle, or get a better angle over here from the outside. See, into turn 13, Cam in a little way. You see Dylan just the tiniest bit wide there in the gravel, and then has to brake early to gather the car up. Cam, though, at that exact same moment, chooses, or makes that the chime. He wants to have a think about having the move up the inside at the final corner. No dice. Here's the live pictures at turn 7. Cam is really turning the screws now. He must feel like Shepherd is vulnerable here now all of a sudden, and his car still doing all right here. 2.5 laps to go to round the night off, Reese, and he is starting to throw that number 1 Orbit Motorsport entry into the corner as hard and as fast as you dare to try and make something work here.
Yeah, all right then. Here we go, the same location that the incident happened last lap. In fact, a corner before, and Dance taps the back of Shepherd. He pulls out, goes for the move, gets into him again, locks up, and spins around. I think Dance probably could have thought that one through a little better.
Oh, man. Whether that... Yeah. Although maybe I'm just feeling like... did Shepherd check that one up a little aggressively the turn prior? And that
maybe,
just throwing...
but...
It felt like Cam there completely caught off by the way he caught Dylan on the entry to turn 13. And that completely ruined any kind of setup for a move into 14. And then, bang, bong. Around he goes, unfortunately, back into P4 and promotes Robbie Bradbury into a podium spot here for race 3. He's got 1.5 laps left to try and hang on to it. His Dance has recovered, though, to within a second of him here.
Yeah, looking at Shepherd's onboard, I could also see that he was still turning in for the corner when Dance was coming up alongside him. So that's the first bit of contact, and then there's the second one. You can see that Shepherd actually moves to the right a little bit, so I think Dance might be a little justified in getting a bit heated. But regardless, we don't know what's going on in either driver's head, so perhaps I should withhold any judgment of that incident. That still is not the way that we wanted that battle to end.
No, I think, interesting to, we'll see what is made of it indeed, because the white flag's out. One more lap left of the circuit to go, and Bobby Bradbury, I want to see him have a crack at defending this proper, because he's potentially earned this to finish this strongly by keeping his nose out of trouble and just lap after lap banking them here. But Dance, he wants to go get the spot back and at least make it P3. But there's no gap there to the inside of Bradbury on the exit of turn 2. There you go, defensive in towards turn 3 from the 35 machine. So he's willing to defend, and I say, bring it on, Robbie. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, here we go. The fight is on. Can Cameron Dance get back onto the podium and salvage something from this third race? Look at him, he's just gaining tiny bits of speed in the mid corner there, just trying to get on the throttle early, but it's just not working for him. He dives it into turn 10. Looks like he might have gotten a slightly better exit than Bradbury, but is he going to get close enough for a move into the next couple of corners? I have no idea, but he's going to... Oh, he's going to just about get it done here. And round the outside he goes to retake third from Robbie Bradbury as Dylan Shepherd exits the final corner and is going to take 2 from 3 wins here tonight in the flat sixes. Matthew Deere finishing in second spot. Great job from him. And Cameron Dance will ultimately round out the podium there.
Well, while that's happening, it's on for P5. Peter Pavlovich will just keep a nose ahead of Taylor Oakes to wrap up there, leaving us with just Simon Zomo for a recovery to P7 and Anthony Green back in 8th place. Got a little bit left to go here, but he will make it to the end of this one to wrap things up for us here tonight in just one more corner's time.
Yeah, Anthony Green across the line, and we can finally conclude racing in the flat sixes here at Motorsport Arena Oschersleben. That will then be your results, with Shepherd finishing 3.8 seconds ahead of Matthew Deere, Dance 8 seconds behind. Just getting it done on Bradbury in the last few turns. Pavlovich will finish in 5th with Oakes, Mazzomo and Green, the rest of our finishers. Unfortunately for Ben Peterson, that hardware issue that he suffered in race 3 really took the wind out of a lot of people's sails. We were hoping that it would be a great battle with Dylan Shepherd for the win, but just a shame to see that Peterson was not able to capitalize on his clear, fantastic pace tonight. Well, apart from that, Dan, we've got a lot to look forward to this weekend. We do have the Berta 161, as you said, full-on 161-lap endurance race. 600 kilometers will be covered in the V8 support series, and it's going to be a few interesting changes to the series format for that. Not just the endurance format, but also you're allowed to have drivers from outside V8SCOPS supports as your co-drivers, and there's a couple of other rules as well.
Yeah, there's plenty of technical regulations around who's allowed to drive, when, and crucially, the rules, the TLDR of them being that they're designed to prevent the drivers who have been brought in for the event specifically from qualifying or finishing the race. So we'll see our regular V8 drivers in those particular periods of the session, but we'll talk about all of that in a bit more detail with some graphics to help explain things as well come tomorrow evening. Get started broadcast-wise at 10 to 6 Australian Eastern Standard Time, or 5:50 p.m, and the race will go green at 6 o'clock to get things underway then. And yeah, not a long night for us there in that sense, but yeah, first chance for the cars there to get rolling. And with that, I think that might just do us here for tonight's coverage of the 2-litre Tourers and flat sixes, I dare say, Reese.
Yeah, I think it might indeed. Man, what a night indeed it was. And like I said, there's going to be 2 more nights of racing in the whole V8SCOPS League tomorrow and Sunday. Make sure to join us for that. Like and subscribe here on YouTube, and make sure to follow us on the socials. We are at SimSpeedTV on X/Twitter, and we also are on Facebook as SimSpeed Esports Network. I'm Reese Gardner, Dan Yeaman alongside me. From all of us here at SimSpeed TV, we say goodbye for now, but we'll see you tomorrow.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.